put some volume up on this. Okay. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. If anyone in chat can hear me, just push 1. I don't think anybody can hear me. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the confirmation, fam. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is open chat number 29. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those that are posted on the community tab that we posted today. Shout out to the subscribers, all new subscribers, helping us break 2.13K today. What I wanted to address today, some disturbing content that we came across earlier this week. The video is gone now, and they started talking about women, Black women who are male identified. Also, you know, the educated Pookie and Swirling and some of the miscellaneous that gets talked about as well. I saw the video before they took it down, and they took it down because they knew that the Black Brain Trust and other constituents of the Black Brain Trust, Satellites, Man of Tomorrow, Super Triz, Mr. Fantastic, you know, the whole squad, we were going to come in here and destroy all the talking points in there. So they make sure they take their videos down, their live streams down, which is fine. That's their prerogative. I'm going to address the points that we took anyways. We took away from it anyways. Several of the Brain Trust members were privy to this, so we've communicated with each other behind the scenes and decided that we were going to go live tonight. We probably should have did it last night, but space and technology is way more important. You know, the emergence of a first African smartphone was way more important than addressing them or addressing the talking points. So I decided that I was going to go in tonight on this one. Let me get the miscellaneous out the way, because I think the miscellaneous is something that people would probably get. We don't mention names on this channel, so we don't actually care to give people free publicity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Swirling, and then I'm going to go to educated Pookie, and then I'm going to deal with the rest of it. What's happening here with this whole swirl movement and this incident down in South Carolina is that people are trying to find equivalency with Black men. And what's happening is that Black men are being falsely accused of things that they have not done, right? And for all that it's worth, people were accusing Black men of giving Black women all types of STDs and diseases and whatnot. And the reality was that was never the case. The CDC has broken down the numbers. And yet we still have people, you know, I don't know if you all heard the NPR radio show when the CDC was on there, and you had some BWs call into the show, and they were arguing with the CDC over the numbers. And one of the things that the CDC had presented was that some of the new HIV cases is actually coming from intravenous drug use for BWs, and the BWs were calling into the show, and they were arguing with the CDC over their numbers by trying to present their numbers to them. Now, how this relates to swirling is that we now know, based on this case in South Carolina and based on some of the activities we saw in just social media, shout out to King Sigma. He's done an excellent job at breaking that down last week. If you have not seen King Sigma's live stream on this, exposing BWs on Twitter, you should definitely check that out. It's actually a very interesting and very prophetic live stream. So make sure y'all check that out. What happened was swirling is a black social construct for BWs. It's not meant for men. And the construct tries to articulate that because of black men's place in society, that mayonnaise men would make better partners, and that's why BW should go after them. And they hid it behind character over race, or character over culture, or character over ethnicity, right? But it only seems to be exclusive for mayonnaise men. And I always find that to be interesting, because if it was just about character, why don't you push the same character, promotionally speaking, for black males? Why don't you promote that for them? Because the same character that you seem to be so enamored by with mayonnaise men, you don't seem to have that same perspective for black men. So when they try to say, well, black men swirl too, I always find that to be interesting, because black men don't have the same criteria for their intermarital rates. So who are you referring to? I've never seen this before. And so what these people have done, these BWs have done, they've actually taken black men as their whipping boy, and they have also taken the negative aspect of swirling, and they've placed it onto black men now. But this new case in South Carolina with this icy hot stunner, he did the unthinkable. And what black men were originally being accused of, this mayonnaise man has done it. But the same people who were going in on Edward Anderson, our dear brother Edward Anderson, shout out to Edward Anderson, they roasted him for 8 hours, humiliated him over one comment that he made on O'Shea's live stream on the Sunday Rumble. They roasted him for 8 hours, they humiliated him for 8 hours. But when it came to this, they were silent. Why the silence? So we know that swirling has nothing to do with character. It has to do with just the fact that his skin is pale, and his perceived position in society gives a false sense of privilege. It's an imaginary space. It's not like if you marry this individual that somehow, some way, you're going to inherit this privilege. We don't see this happening. We just saw Stacey Dash, who has dated mayonnaise men practically her whole life and been a Republican, she can't even afford a lawyer, can't even bail herself out of jail. We see this with Halle Berry. We see this with many other BWs who go out of their way to profess their desires for this mayonnaise man, and nothing beneficial comes from it. We just saw Serena Williams put a wig on her mayonnaise man and was combing the wig on his head and live streamed it or uploaded it to social media. Had that mayonnaise man been a black man, he would be a sucker, he's a lame, he's a beta, he's corny, he's gay, he's on the down low. He'd be all types of negative attributes, characteristics of a deficient male. But because it's a mayonnaise man, it's acceptable. And I always find this interesting because now we know now that swirling has really nothing to do with character, has nothing to do with love. It has to do with desirability, validation by this mayonnaise man. And they don't just get the best of the best mayonnaise men. They get the lowest common denominator of mayonnaise men, men who barely have any privilege at all, other than the fact that their skin is pale. So when they say black men do the same thing, black men swirl, it's not the same. It's not the same. I have yet to see anybody in any black man in the IT field who is successful date at the bottom of WWs. They don't do that. They date within their academic and tax bracket. Meaning if he has a master's degree, an MBA or something like that, more than likely his spouse would have the similar credentials. Maybe an MPA, Master's of Public Administration. Usually makes the same level of income because they frequent the same areas. This idea that black males are dating low income or what they consider to be opioid Beckies, I always find that interesting. I always find that interesting because I don't see it. None of us have seen it. So what they've been trying to do is they've been with this whole South Carolina incident is they've been trying to find equivalency of how they can pin this on to black men. It's in order to rationalize the disposition for black men by this mayonnaise man infecting all these BWs. So this is, this is what they're doing. They're trying to redefine what swirling means so that it makes sure that the negative connotations are always attributed to black men too, right? It takes the heat and the pressure and the focus off of BWs and puts it right back onto black men. So we know now that it has nothing to do with love, it has nothing to do with lust, it has nothing to do with anything else. It just has to do with the fact that as a BW, I dislike black men and my position in society cannot be approximate to black men. So let me find the lowest common denominator of white males and I'll engage with that white male unprotected. But when that relationship doesn't work, I'm going to come back to a place called the manosphere, the black manosphere, and I'm going to order black men around. I'm going to tell them about themselves. And I'm going to sit on panels with other pro-black BWs, and I'm going to change my name to Akuta Matata Umfufu, put some, extensions in my hair or big hoop earrings, change my name, and now I'm a part of the community again. And you can't look at my past. My past is sealed. My record is sealed. I'm not up for scrutiny. We've seen this many times we've seen this many times in the black manosphere where someone has been exposed for being with a mayonnaise man, or they've been on a website dealing with mayonnaise men where the mayonnaise men have sexually exploited them, and now that they're disgruntled, they come back to black men in predominantly black male spaces and try to encroach, if not downright occupy these spaces and these panels to remind black men about their place in society, because she's not entirely happy with her place in society because it's in approximation to black men. What we call failed swirlers. Swirling is never successful. It never has been successful. We see this up and down the line. over the last 10 years on social media that swirling never is successful. Tika Sumpter, many other BWs who run around um, with these mayonnaise men. And I always find it interesting that the main avoidance of Black men has to do with, well, they don't like to use condoms. Well, according to the South Carolina case, it sounds like a lot of the BWs wasn't using them either. And they didn't put any pressure on this bottom shelf Brad to do it. But somehow it's Black men that are just as bad. I heard this. The video is gone now, but we heard it. Be careful of Black men, because these guys out here, you don't know what kind of diseases they have. Well, guess what? That bottom shelf Brad, you didn't ask him that question, right? Not only did he infect these women, but he also has children with these women, these BWs. They're cupcaking with him. They got the selfies all over social media. No one has anything to say about that, though. But the Black community is a failed patriarchy, according to them. And that this evil, failed patriarchy is the reason why the community looks the way that it looks, and why BWs are in their position in American society or Western society, and that we have to get away from Black men, because Black men are just so despicable. You hate your mother, you hate yourself. You want to be like the mayonnaise man. You want the mayonnaise man's wife. You want the mayonnaise man's daughter. You're gay. You're on the down low. You sleep with other men. And you're also an educated lame. So basically, you go from being timid and not having any swag to suddenly being promiscuous, where you sleep with not only white males, white females, but you also you also chase other men too. So you have all of these pieces of criteria being attributed to you that have basically turned you into a boogeyman. How is this possible? And why is this not being challenged? Well, it's being challenged tonight. It's being challenged tonight. People are bullshitting. People are pretending to be pro-Black. They're not progressive at all. You can hear it in their commentary. Go to their channels. You don't hear anything about the advancement of melanated people. It's always about what satisfies them at the time that they need it. I have yet to see any of these swirlers, their bow, so to speak. I've never seen a mayonnaise man uplift a BW above his white mother. Never seen that. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a mayonnaise man pick up a brick on behalf of the BWs and throw it through a Asian nail salon window or Asian beauty supply store window. Never seen that. But somehow Black males are required to give up their position, their freedom, and their agency for the sake of a BW. See, the rules change. The rules change for Black males as opposed to mayonnaise men. I thought it was character over race and character over culture. What is this? Why do Black males have to sacrifice their freedom, if not their lives, for you who do not want to be in proximity to him, while you get to go out there and procreate and engage with the lowest common denominator of mayonnaise men? How does this make sense? Who constructed something like this? Cui bono? Who benefits? Who benefits from this? So we're supposed to raise and cultivate young black males to be cannon fodder for a demographic of people who don't have any respect for the humanity of those black males, so that you can get the lowest common denominator of mayonnaise men. Make that make sense. But if you question it, you're a hater. You're an incel. But we just saw the Joker last week. Hollywood put in the basic, most rudimentary form of a white incel on camera with the best of the BWs. And no one questioned it. So I see this sort of movement that's happening right now where there is a movement to marginalize black males, thinking black males. Keep them quiet, flag their videos, thumbs them down, report them to the FCC and the FBI as well, threat investigation, because supposedly you can be dangerous. You got women talking about arming themselves because they're worried about black males attacking them, being potential hazards. But you got women being attacked at gas stations or getting into confrontations at gas stations with Middle Eastern men, Asian men, also the white men, and no one questions that, because your responsibility as a black male is to give up your life for her. And while you're dead, if not injured in the ICU, she's gonna go swirl. And I don't see anybody in the manosphere challenging this. No one's challenging this. So that's my introduction to swirling. Let me get to this educated Pookie real quick, because we've just dissected this thing a million times. Pookie is a failed black male for all intents and purposes. Only on YouTube, only in social media will you see all these gradients of what it means to be a Pookie. You got educated Pookies, you got uneducated Pookies, you got blue collar Pookies, you got white collar Pookies, you got all these sort of variations. But when it comes to upwardly mobile black men, it's either you're select or you're non-select. It's binary. So they concocted this new sort of reincarnated term, which is an educated Pookie. It's something I have to laugh at, because when I was doing undergrad, I didn't see any of these guys in there. They might have played ball or something, probably gone in on a scholarship that way, but you know, in terms of academia, they were never scholastic. I didn't see them at the front of the class. I didn't see these guys make it past the first term. They usually dropped out or got kicked out because of academic probation. So now what they've done is they've reincarnated this term, and they've made it so that it's an equivalent to your scholastically and upwardly mobile brothers. So suddenly, an educated Pookie can speak Spanish. He can speak different languages, and he also reads in Braille. He has this sixth sense. He's prophetic. You know, he can predict the presidential outcome for the Democratic election. He knows who's gonna drop out and who's gonna succeed into the final selection. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I do a lot of volunteer work and I don't see these sort of educated Pookies anywhere. I don't see them anywhere. I've been on multiple farms this summer. I've showed pictures of this. I've never seen the so-called educated Pookie. He's not a political prisoner. This is a commercialized term within the gynocracy to rationalize the sexual interest of BWs. And so there's a hatred for those who are in opposition to it. And usually it's those sort of constituents of the Black Brain Trust who are hated by these other people. They hate that. They hate us. They hate to see us. They come by, they thumbs down the videos. I get nasty messages every week. And I dropped a link in the chat and I'm saying, why don't y'all pull up? Why don't y'all pull up? Oh, nah, we ain't gonna pull up over there. No, you're not gonna pull up over here because you know better. We don't have educated Pookies on our panels. We don't do that. We have brothers who contribute, brothers who speak different languages, brothers who have custody of their children, brothers who are actually innovative. We don't have an educated Pookie. There's no such thing here. So they concocted this term in order to rationalize their sexual interests so that they can marginalize what would be the constituents of the Black Brain Trust, because they hate brothers who are straight and narrow and get straight to the point. And we don't have to wear our masculinity on our sleeve or on silk screen t-shirts either. We don't walk around with shirts that scream masculinity and wifey beaters and stuff. We don't do anything like that. We don't have to get snapbacks that say masculinity and stuff. We don't do things like that. It's not how we roll. You got to put your money where your mouth is when you come to this channel. You don't know anything. Trust me, you're going to get exposed real quick. You're going to stay on mute or you're going to get the hell up off the panel. So all this talk about an educated Pookie, I'm not seeing where the results are. Why? Because he can read a horoscope in the newspaper? I'm not impressed, man. I'm not impressed. We're not impressed. So that's my take on educated Pookie. These guys hang around here, but they never come through. Always talking about cooking people and bringing smoke. We brought the flame. Where y'all at? Educated Pookies. When you gonna put up a half a stack for a debate? That's the only way you're gonna get the chance to debate any of us. You gotta put up a half a stack. People get upset when we talk about economics and stuff like that. You guys are preaching doom and gloom, automation, booming economy. Okay. You say you knew all of this. Why you ain't posted up on your channel? Why you ain't talking about that on your channel? Well, we don't talk about that over here. We more focus on educating people. Really? Really? Where's the education at? Because I'm not seeing anything come out of those channels. We do Black Tech Talk on here once a week, at least once a week. We do IT mentorship over here. We do coaching. We do resume building, salary negotiations. We do early childhood discussions about where your child should go, whether it should be a public school or a Montessori school. We had a whole entire live stream about that. Shout out to Complex, shout out to Almeida. We've put our money where our mouth is. Why haven't you? You so educated. You so alpha. But you begging for subscribers from other people. How you alpha? How you alpha when 85 to 90% of your subscribers are BWs? Who you really leading? Ain't no men following you. 99% of our subscribers are black males. 99%. 44% of our subscribers are Gen Xers. 33% of them are millennials. Less than 20% of them are zennials. Black males. So our statistics show who's the real alphas around here. And we don't accept any super chats, no Streamlabs, no Patreons, no Cash Apps. This is our time invested into this. But we have people who want to concoct these terms called an educated Pookie, and I'm like, I'm not seeing it. That sound good, but I'm not seeing it. And it sound real good until you put us all on the same panel and we see who's the real educated cats out here. Where's your alumni? A bunch of BWs? that's your alumni, a bunch of BWs? A real alpha male has a male following. But we're not seeing that with you other characters who want to come up with these, these terms, educated Pookie. It's a joke. It's a joke. The term educated Pookie is the equivalent of a benevolent terrorist. Like ISIS, they give out falafel and ice cream on the weekend. That makes them benevolent. So therefore we shouldn't, put them all in the same category, because they volunteer on the weekends, with olive farms and avocado farms. We shouldn't put them all in the same category. There's gradients to terrorists. And I always find it interesting that the educated Pookie, allegedly, is always in proximity to the gynocracy. He's always so willing to engage in physical combat with thinking black men, always. What he will do to you if he ever pulls up on you. Bitch nigga this, fuck boy that. What you don't realize is that the Second Amendment did not stop with you. Thinking black men are also licensed to carry out here. So for all the talking and the barking, I don't got tinted windows on my car. I ride around fishbowl status everywhere I go. I ain't never had any of these sucker-laid cats run up on me. I ain't hiding for nobody. We ain't hiding for nobody. We dropped a link in the chat multiple times, and the same cats who bump their gums about us, they never pull up on the panel. And when I asked these guys to pull up, they said, we're not coming over there. Not because we torture people, because this is not Guantanamo Bay over here. That's your site. That's your channel. You like to torture people on your channel. But us, we give you fair opportunity. But the term is just commercialized for all intents and purposes. It's commercialized. People are making money off of this. I get it. Because you're running out of time. And you also run out of content. It's October going into November. 2020 is only a couple months away. How many times can you reinvent this term and reinvent yourself? We'll see how long this can go on for, but I can almost guarantee you after 2020, you guys are finished. You guys are absolutely finished. Sometime in 2020, we'll have a Black Brain Trust Summit. We'll be advancing ourselves. There'll be no more Manosphere 3.0s and 2.0s. It'll be all fourth industrialized. And you guys will still be here attacking our dear brother, Edward Anderson. Shout out to Edward. About little statements he made. Y'all can go in for 8 hours about that, but you won't talk about this South Carolina incident for 8 hours. You won't do that. You'll rebrand yourself, you'll brand your channel multiple times and go from neutral this and reverse that, pop the clutch that. My position is simple. You either roll with us or you get rolled over. It's that simple. It's that simple going forward. We've been nice to you all. We've been very polite. We've been very respectful. Very rarely do you ever hear me curse on the channel. Try to keep it PG so we don't get flagged. But you guys won't, you all don't get it. You don't get what we stand for. You don't get what this is about for us. We don't get paid off of this. We could, we don't. You need your channel because you need the income. And so what you try to do is you try to rebrand terms and come up with new concocted schemes and deflect. Somehow swirling has become a black male issue now. And these statements about black men not being respected on a global scale, I always find this interesting because this person said that black men are not respected outside of America. The American black man is not respected around America. The American black male, for all intents and purposes, is the most imitated, but never duplicated by all other groups of people. That's why you see some Africans, they try to, have the swagger and everything else, try to emulate the swagger, but as soon as the non-African women hear that thick accent, they're like, oh, wait a second, that's not real. Not that there's anything wrong with the people from the continent, there's nothing wrong with that, but they understand who are the real authentic people. They know that black men are authentic over here, at least the ones on this channel. We don't have to come up with terms and labels and stuff like that, or wear our masculinity on our sleeve. We don't do things like that. You're not gonna see me walking around with a big ass belt buckle that says masculine on it. This ain't the WWF. I ain't the 1, 2, 3 kid. So black men not being respected globally, it's hilarious because we see multiple documentaries and other social media platforms such as Passport Heavy, Passport Bros, Charles Tyler, and many of the other brothers who traveled and documented their work and have shown that when black men step on the scene, we command that sort of attention. I have never heard, all the brothers I know that went to Germany, they have talked about how great of attention they receive when they go over there. This goes all the way back to the 1940s during World War II, which is why a lot of the black soldiers who went over there didn't come back. Still happen to this day. Mr. Research just the other day was talking about this. Said brothers should be going to UK. They should be going to France and finding sisters over there. Shout out to Q. So, as it stands right now, these guys, these people, and their movement, it's spiraling out of control. It's in the death throes right now. Just like white supremacy is in its death throes. They're in their death throes too. So let me drop the link in the chat, and then we'll get to male identified. I think this is one of the most hilarious terms because I come from family, right? My mom had 4 boys, including myself and 1 girl. So yeah, she is male identified. She's surrounded by men, surrounded by my father, surrounded by my brothers, surrounded by men who protect her, men who provide for her, men who make sure that things are held down. Yeah, she's gonna be male identified. But this is wrong according to the gynocracy. Gynocracy says this is wrong. Women shouldn't be male identified. You were born as a woman. The fuck are you talking about? You should identify with women, other BWs, because of your gender. How can this make sense? The same BWs who want you to identify with them will also stab you in your back. We saw what happened with Statuesque 1 years ago. They ran her off of YouTube. We saw what happened with Shahrazad Ali, who said in an interview on YouTube that she had to get physical security at her lectures because she was getting death threats from the gynocracy. She couldn't do her lectures without having physical security there. They were coming for her. But these same people will tell you that being, for BWs, for black women to be male identified is a wrong thing. You're wrong for that. You should pledge allegiance to the gynocracy. And those who do not will be shunned, will be marginalized. And so on the Black Brain Trust, we invite women who are refugees of the gynocracy to nest yourself over here, because we understand. We give you safe passage. We give you wrenches. You have time on the panel. Express yourself. No one can flag you. No one can silence you. No one can mute you. We understand. Anyways, let me open up the advance people to the panel. I've done my spiel for tonight.
Hello? Can you hear me?
You might want to raise up your volume on your mic.
All right, hold on.
MOT, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Chilling, fam.
Yeah, I released a video. I was supposed to upload in the morning about the educated Pookie and the thinking black Maggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going to be trying to co-op all the talking points and try to make it theirs, you know, because they ain't got no originality. You know, they're just trying to show out and kiki for the peeps over there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, doing their Roman Coliseum thing. And this was the moment that they knew was going to happen. That
Mm-hmm.
sometime that we was going to get our voice to be able to speak, and it was just not going to be pretty for them
Mm-hmm.
once we did start talking. Because at the end of the day, those two entities have really done far more damage
Mm-hmm.
to black people than the Ku Klux Klan and the South ever could.
Mm-hmm.
Those two entities.
This is a war, MOT.
It
This
is
is
a war. It is.
this is an information war.
Oh,
Those who control the information control the narrative. And what we've done here, and what you've done on your channel, and what Super Triz has done with his channel in the Age of Aquarius, and what Mr. Fantastic is doing, pushing back. This is a new alliance, similar to NATO. We have an Article 5 now. If one member is attacked, then all members must respond. We're taking the gloves off now. This is the information war, and we're somewhat getting some traction, war of attrition against them.
yeah.
I remember
King
August.
Sigma.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, King Sigma. Shout out to King Sigma. And what's happening here is August 1st, those same, people could not actually go live, and it was like dust balls in the manosphere. You could see all types of visibility for 100 miles. You couldn't. Nobody was out there. Clear visibility. So what Nagone and myself had heard, and some of the other members have heard, man, we decided that we have to go live with this, man. This is ridiculous. Well, we're gonna go in tonight, man. Let you guys have your take. I know you've uploaded several videos. I have to catch up with the rest of those. But the ones I have heard, man, have been excellent. So
Sup, brother?
What's going on?
hey, what's going on? Let me go to Cyberdyne. He has his hand up first.
Good
evening, everyone.
What's going on, bro?
What's going on, brother?
I'm chilling, man. Glad to be here again. All I want to say is this, and I'm gonna fall back because you said what needed to be said. For those listening, the Black Brain Trust is not alone. All of us don't have channels, but we have tools. We have resources. We stand ready. These brothers that represent the Black Brain Trust, they're not alone, and those of us who are a part of the Black Brain Trust, we're like secret ops, special ops. We have resources. And soon, people are gonna come and dine at the table of the Black Brain Trust. They're gonna come drink out of the cup of the Black Brain Trust, and they're gonna get fed. They're gonna be uplifted. They're gonna be edified. And, they're gonna be nourished. And so, just like you said, brother, it's only so long that you can keep blowing smoke for your lungs give out. And, we work in secret and we work for a good cause. And all I want to say is if there's any infiltrators, any plants, anybody listening, if they put this on playback, you know, I want them to know that we welcome all, like the brother said, come into the courtroom. We're logical, we're you know, even minded.
Mhm.
And if they have anything that they feel that they want to bring to the court, let them do it. Like you said, there's no disrespect. The Black Brain Trust doesn't take money or Patreons, but if we wanted to monetize and blow it out the box, we certainly could, because we got the talent to do that and to be effective and to be benevolent if we wanted to. But let them into the courtroom and be burned by the logic. And like you said, they won't stand a chance. They'll run off and go make up something. That's all I got. I'm falling back listening, man.
Thank you there, brother. Let's go to DE Raptor. He has his hand up.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Mhm.
Hope you guys are having a good day.
Shalom.
Let me see. Yesterday morning, I woke up, looked at the news, and heard my brother that he produces economic channel, and he was talking about this hedge fund that broke up and couldn't repay its people in South Korea. This morning, I woke up, look at the news, and here's my brother again. He's talking about another hedge fund, and this one is huge. This one is in England, and the man who ran it was famous. He was knighted by the Queen for his work in economics. Not economics, but the field of making money. And here we are in America, Black people. Instead of, I don't see any of these people that Mike was describing just now into this, trying to get Black people to recognize what's happening around the world. I don't see any of them doing it. No community is like, to them, the community doesn't exist. They don't care if we are watching the economy fall into this black hole. It's literally a black hole. All of the Caucasians that you hear talking about what's happening and what's coming, they tell you point blank, we don't know how to fix this problem. When Caucasians found themselves in a hole in 2008, they chose a black-skinned man to run America, to build confidence in the financial system that they built. And I will hope Black people were looking at this. Everybody was running around celebrating, oh, we got a Black president. But he didn't get there. He was intelligent. He didn't get there because of that. They put him there to build up their own self-esteem. I mean, some of them were trying to tear him down. And up to today, they can't find anything to say, well, he stole this, or he said this, you know, he's this racist, or they can't find it. Impeccable. But they chose him to rebuild their brand, their image. And we as Black people are fighting to demean and tear down the image of Black men. Yeah, me, I don't want to preach. Sometimes I don't, look, I try to keep myself out of this argument.
Mhm.
Because I was frustration. I can't understand how people can't see these things happening. I mean, I don't consider myself to be a really intelligent guy. And if I can see it, I'm thinking to myself, millions of black people up here are supposed to be seeing this thing.
Mhm.
And instead of doing something about it, they're trying to kill each other. They're tearing down each other. We got black women who claim that they're the most intelligent. They're the only ones capable of leading. And guess what they're doing? And then you have the people who have no sense of worth,
30 seconds, DE.
and they continue to break us down. Thank you guys for letting me, spill my brain.
All right, let's go to Johnny Blaze. His hand is up. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? How you doing?
I'm chilling, fam.
All right, good evening, panel. I just want to say, Mike, I think you did a fantastic job with your opening remarks. They were very powerful. I really don't have much to say other than, I have to deal with the educated Pookies at college. And I see what these guys do. They come in thinking they know something, but they're too busy either goofing off, acting the fool. They barely make it a semester or two, but yet all I can say is these guys are truly non-select, man. And I get so sick and tired of these women constantly defending these guys, chasing behind them like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. So the Brain Trust, thank you. Thank all the other panel members for being here, for what you do. I salute you, gentlemen, for what you do. And I'm just glad that you've accepted me to let me come in and be a part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Who else had their hand raised? Nagone had his hand raised. What's going on? I think Nagone might be having his Ovaltine right now. Let me go to Thai City, man.
What's up, bro?
What's going on, fam?
Man, you knocked it out of the park, dog.
Oh, really? I took a cue from
Yeah.
I took a cue from you, fam.
Yeah, man.
I heard you over there burning it down over on Mr. Fantastic's panel today.
Oh my God, man. I'm telling you, when you put the direct shot and then they can't weave it and they get hit and it's like yeah, when you place the accountability where it's supposed to go, man. You can't dodge. You can't answer a question with a question. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting on people's ass and you start bringing logic into it, they turn the argument into an argument. You know what I'm saying? It becomes circular. It's like, no. Let's answer the question. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's start right here because this is the base. This is the issue, not semantics. You know what I'm saying? Not whatever the hell you feel in this and that. Nah, we're not playing the blame game either. We going with the facts. Yeah, man. And it all comes down to just some of the simple notions like that. We get away with saying stuff like, well, where are these fathers? But it's like, we know where these fathers are and they want custody of their children. And we all know this, but we let certain things just grow and grow and grow until it becomes this big monster that we have to live with on our back. You know what I'm saying? And it's not cool. And you're right. This the last stance. Like, we gonna have to start drawing blood out here, man.
All right, let's go to Wacky Word. Oh, he got his hand up.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Shalom, brother. Shalom.
Shalom, brother. Shalom. Is my mic clear?
You're clear. You're
okay.
Set to go.
Yeah. So when it comes to the so-called black sector of YouTube, people have to realize that it's 90% entertainment and 10% serious. Only 10% of the people within black YouTube are actually serious about the things that impact the so-called black community or the lack thereof. 90%, on the other hand, is here for entertainment, which is no coincidence why you see all of these minstrel shows or these minstrel channels. That's what I call them, where people are just acting a fool. They have all these new hashtags, all these new titles, and people buy into it because the majority of people, especially our people, are more concerned about entertainment than anything else. So it is entertainment. And all you can do really is sit back and laugh at them. And that's what I do. Sit back and laugh at them. And it's so sad because you see, as time goes by, you look at what's going on in society and you just see more and more young so-called black children suffering. They're coming from these broken homes, in our neighborhoods. And it seems like there's not enough of us who are actually serious about helping to fix these homes, fix these families, and providing a better future for just the young children. It's sad. Is that people would rather come on social media, and instead of using social media as a way to get serious people together, like-minded people together, and communicate together, and start something special. They want to quote unquote roast on people and try to do this quote unquote online bullying and make up this dumbass term, excuse my language, called educated Pookie. I'm a Pookie. I'm a buffoon here, but I'm educated at the same time. Yeah, an educated buffoon. It's
like a terrorist who gives out backpacks for back to school.
Yeah, it's like Nino Brown giving out Thanksgiving turkeys in New Jack City.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the next thing they're gonna be asking for Nobel Peace Prizes.
Right. And it's just a big joke, and it's sad. It's sad, really. It's sad that a person like me, who came from the first generation of Black YouTube, in which you witnessed it, Mike V, in which a lot of us was very serious, and it just ended up going downhill. The dialogues, the type of conversations, the topics people bring up, it's so stupid. Select, non-select, select, non-select. You a 50-50 guy. You want to go 50-50 with your girl. These are the dumbest topics. Like so-called Black people in America and across the diaspora are going through a lot of health issues, economic issues with social issues when it comes to education, and then you worried about some doggone select and non-select, which is very subjective, and there's no real proof behind what is select and what is not select, because when it comes to attraction or what someone would prefer to be with, it's very subjective.
Would you say that the mayonnaise man in South Carolina, would you say he's select?
Well, I mean, he slept with 600 females, so he must be select, right? According to what's being reported, he slept with about 600 females. So if 600 females are that dumb to spread their legs to him, then I guess he must be select. In the perspective of those females, who slept with him. But the thing is, this term select is very subjective, because these 600 females might consider him to be select, but another female might say he's not attractive.
Well, he's procreating, so I would say that he falls into that category. I don't typically have a term with. I don't typically have an issue with the term select versus non-select. I think there's a place for it, but I also think for those who have not had any masculine maturity or maturation, they will find themselves in doubt about what their place is in modern society for Black males, and that will send them into a whirlwind of depression because they don't understand what their value is in Black society, because they see the lowest underperforming men having access to the most valuable wombs, while he does exactly what he's been told to do: be Christian, go to church, and donate 10% of his earnings to the congregation and to the collection plate, and there's no return on investment for him. He doesn't understand that. You know, there's a lot of them that don't understand. If you ever been a part of a men's group, man, it's one of the most interesting things you would hear from Black men. And no one, no one is having these conversations openly with them. You got to have it behind closed doors, and it's unfortunate that people are pushing the narrative that you're an incel as a Black male if you can't get a woman's attention. But this mayonnaise man, who's your arch nemesis for all intents and purposes, man, he's breaking off all the all the women who are telling you that you're not select.
Mike, you see what the issue is when it comes to these types when it comes to these types of males. Sorry to interrupt you, by the way.
No, it's fine.
But when it comes to these types of males, they haven't been taught that the overall majority of females in society are of low quality. No matter how pretty they look in the face, no matter how long their hair is, no matter how great their smile is, no matter how nice their body is, okay, I will not go as far as to say the majority, but I'll say there's a very large populace of females who are of low quality, bottom shelf. They have low standards. They have low self-esteem within themselves. Their moral fiber is very low. All right. They're whores. Okay. So they're not being taught that. So when they're taught that, so the more they realize that the reason why these bottom shelf brass, quote unquote, or a lot of these underperforming Negroes have access to them, it's because they're birds of the feather that flock together. Underperforming male, procreate with an underperforming female. And the thing is that when you see these underperforming females, or these low quality females, and you this high quality brother, they're not feeling you because they're not supposed to be attracted to you. They're not supposed to like you, and you're not supposed to be into them. And the better you understand that, the more, it's not going to bother you, because you just realize that, hey, listen, it's just too many people of low quality that's in this society. A man that's in his right mind, if he's single, he's looking for a right person. His mindset is not going to be, oh, how come these females not into me? His mindset is going to be, where is the female that's of the same quality as me? Where is the female that's going to compliment me? Where is the female that have the same standards as me? So they're not being taught that. And sadly, the reason why a lot of these males are not being taught that, in my opinion, is because a lot of them didn't have fathers or positive male role models to sit them down and tell them how it is as a man in this life, and what you're gonna experience, and what you're gonna see, and how to navigate through this society when it comes to either what you're gonna go through in the fields of education, what you're gonna go through in the so-called workplace, or what you're gonna go through when you come across females. So that's what I have to say on that.
All right, let's go to Super Trades. He got his hand up.
What's going on, Mike V?
I'm chilling, fam. What's good with you?
Yeah, respect to the panel, man. I've been having these conversations for quite some time, and essentially, it's you have individuals nesting in an environment who are essentially female identifying, somehow have the audacity to persecute a woman for male identifying, which really makes no sense, because when you look at productive communities, men are at the foundation of those communities. Communities prosper when the community identifies what the the plight of the men of that community, because they understand that the men are determine the trajectory, and the men are what defines the community as being productive. Because when you look at a community, you know, see, this is the issue. When you look at a community and its fallacies, you particularly hone in on the men, and people ask, well, what's going on with the men of the society? That's the first question that's asked. And from a global perspective, this is the reason why there's an issue with the branding of Black men, because they look at the Black community in shambles and they hold Black men personally accountable for that, even though a large majority of the men have not been selected as being the mainstay of the community. So in actuality, we don't have anything to do with what we see, but that's neither here nor there. The problem is that the status quo is being challenged. And now there is an actual burden of performance. There's actual metrics. These are the videos that you see MOT consistently putting out. There's actual metrics for manhood. So now you can't just say that you're a man, and a woman can't coin you as a man. Your mom can't say, oh, you're the man of the house because your dad's not here. No, the men of the community have to recognize you as a man by your merits. Not by an advanced age, not by physical characteristics, because now you your shoulders done got broad, your voice done got deep. That doesn't make you a man. There's an actual burden of performance, and it's actually based on what your net contribution is. You can't step into this arena and say, oh, well, look what I've done for the past 6 months. No, what have you done your entire life? You got a job now, and you know you're making YouTube videos. Congratulations. But that still doesn't make up for the destruction, the path of destruction that you've made throughout the community. And so that's the reason why channels like the Black Brain Trust, channels like Man of Tomorrow, channels like my channel, Super Triz, that's the reason why our channels are disliked. Because at the end of the day, it's relatively easy to meet the standards that are set by some other constituencies in the Black community. It's very easy. Overly aggressive, you have a certain look, you wear certain clothes, even if it's at the detriment of your total financial picture, you'll allocate resources to an image and not have your financial affairs on it. But that's okay, because it's all about perception. That's what masculinity has come down to, is about perception, as opposed to an underlying conceptual adherence. That's all I got to say for right now. Oh, let me just say this one more thing. You got people that will walk around the building 10 times, 20 times, 30, 40, 50 times, walking past every stairwell in the structure, looking for the elevator to success, not knowing there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. We consistently look for shortcuts, and that's what's celebrated. See, there's always some type of hustle, some type of shortcut. You know, my man got street smarts, that type of nonsense. And see, the true hustle is an element of consistency, boringness. And this is something that I've said repeatedly. There is no shortcuts. I mean, see, because historically in our community, you know, our problem was at one point, there was no yield for our hard work. There was no yield. Then there came a point where there was a little yield for our hard work, and then a lot of the industries we were boxed out of. Then it became a point of hard work but not smart work, not efficient, having to start over each generation because there's no generational wealth. Now we're in the age where we can actually get the yield that we want. We can actually get into the industries that we want to get in. So the problem isn't the actual access. The problem is a lack of work ethic. Like now the problem is that people don't want to work hard. But see, what we're talking about and what I discussed in the age of Aquarius is that, you know, we're entering into an age where, not now, but we will be very, very shortly. And we're already seeing that now, is to where it doesn't matter how hard you work. You have to work smart. So you have to make decisions now, not only to position yourself, but to position your lineage. And the way you do that is by changing the culture and challenging the status quo. We have to change our culture. We have to change our way of thinking. And we have to work smarter, not just work hard anymore. Thanks.
All right, you can go to Reigning Woman. You're next.
Had to unmute my mic. Good evening, everyone, panel and chat room. Can y'all hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. First of all, Mike V, that was some fiery intro there.
Thank you.
But you know, definitely, I don't know, you know, what all is going on around here, but I definitely think that the Black Brain Trust has a righteous indignation, and it's definitely good to hear you guys sound as strong as what you are. And I think a lot of times people can mistake your smartness for weakness, and your politeness and your ability to articulate and be rational for some kind of softness or weakness, when it is very far from the truth. So I definitely stand in solidarity with you all, and I'm just here right now to show my support, extend my arms. Thank you. And I thank you also. I definitely acknowledge and respect the welcoming that you all have allowed me to feel over here at the Black Brain Trust.
You're welcome. Let's go to Nagone 11 if he's available.
Hey, just give me a minute, guys. I'm just in the middle of something here.
All right. We'll come back to you. Wacky Water O has his hand up.
Yes. I just want to respond to a comment you made, Mike, when you stated that you have no problems with the term select and non-select, which is, I mean, I respect your opinion, but one main reason why I have a problem with that, with these phrases, select and non-select, is because, in my opinion, when males use that, they basically define themselves based upon how females perceive them to be. And so they're giving females the power to value them based on female perception. And I have a problem with that, because I don't believe that a male or a man should base themselves on what females think about them. They should base their value based upon their accomplishments, their character, their level of morality, their skill set, and their talents. Because those things is what's is what builds society. Those things are what separates the boys from the men. These things is what create great leaders. So, but talking about who's select or who's non-select, there's no proof that someone who's select or non-select would created great empires or created, a strong nations. So
who's responsible for making up that term? I'm just curious. I don't want to interrupt. Who's responsible? This is Cyber. Who made that up?
I think it's Ron Wills. Ron Wills. I think he made that up.
Who was he?
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what the origins of the term really came from, but the metrics that you're given, oh man, is that it's based on patriarchal societies, and what we have in the Black community is not a patriarchy at all. So that's why your criteria is incongruent with what's going on currently. So it sounds good, but it can't be applied until there's an actual patriarchal structure. And a lot of what we have now is a gynocracy. We don't have the ability to apply use those metrics. It's incompatible. It's like an IBM, floppy disk trying to be put inside of a MacBook right now. It's not compatible physically or logically. It's just not compatible. So we like to use those metrics, but we cannot use those metrics because Bebop and Rocksteady don't like those metrics because they can't right. If they can't do the numbers, they want to throw out the system too. They have a vested interest in making sure that system doesn't go into place. So, and they'll do anything possible, even get physical with you. We've seen this on many YouTube videos on World Star Hip Hop. You can't win a freestyle battle. Dude might steal on you. You can't play ball in the court. There's a famous video on YouTube right now. Old boy tried to throw hands and just didn't realize the other dude was a jiu-jitsu MMA fighter. He damn near broke that man's arms.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's a famous video on YouTube, man.
That's correct, Mike.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on.
You know what, Mike? Though, this is the reason why I did the video. I did a stream. It was a late night stream, so a lot of y'all might not have caught it. But I said, "So what if you're not select?" That was the name of the video because see, the actual terminology "select" is quite appropriate. The problem is that everyone's interpretation of what select is what's really the source of the angst. Because when we look at select, right, most people actually pursue what is select. This is the reason why you have the grading USDA select, USDA choice, USDA prime. Select is not necessarily a good thing. Select just means accessible. Select is accessible from a financial standpoint for most people. When you go into the grocery store, most time the meat that you grab is USDA select, if that. Most people don't go in the grocery store looking for USDA prime. Why? Because it's substantially more expensive. Price of entries. There's a base level of productivity required for making a purchase of prime meat to make financial sense. So most people just avoid prime meat. They go in the grocery store, they get the select, and they keep it moving. And that's if they're getting steak. Chicken, you don't see USDA choice select prime. That only applies to beef.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that you're not select is not necessarily a bad thing. You're not select because you're in a different category. You're a different echelon. So obviously, like it's the same concept. Like if I was talking with some guys at work, and we were talking about cars. And I was looking at some of these cars, and I was talking about them, and I was talking about the Land Rover Defender D110.
Okay.
I showed one guy, and he was like, "Oh man, that's tight." It was a Filipino man, and he was talking about how he had never really seen that, and how cool he thought it was. Then along comes a female, that's ugly. Because for her, it just doesn't resonate with her. It's like, it's a very select group of people that are pursuing Land Rover Defenders. And those select group of people are willing to pay the premium to have access to that vehicle. Right? But what you have here is that men have standards. Men of merit have standards. Right? Of what they expect from a woman. What they expect from anybody within their circle. And that price is a little bit too high. You're a premium. You're a prime. Now, the select men, their standards are relatively low. You just got to be walking and breathing. That's it. That's the only prerequisite. You don't even got to be attractive. You just got to be walking and breathing. That's the only prerequisite.
Then Super Tris, if that's the case, then how could you call that select? If all you have to be is walking and breathing in order for a female to, open their legs to you or be with you, in which I agree with that. But based on that, how is there such thing as select and non-select? Because that means that these females, in which is what we're seeing, are sleeping with anybody and anything. So in reality, as far as dating and mating is concerned, there's no real such thing as non-select when you got so many of these females that are messing with anything that they see.
Let me
Okay,
go to
the steak. Just real quick, Mike. The steak that you buy in a restaurant, when you go to the restaurant, a nice restaurant, and buy a steak, that's non-select steak. Why? Because it's prime steak. It's a certain amount of marbling that a steak has to possess to be considered prime. There's certain criteria to be considered prime. If that steak is select, you go to the grocery store, any random grocery store, pick it up. It's not expensive. So that's the reason why it's the select versus non-select. This is the reason why I released the video and I tried to recoin it select versus prime. Instead of saying non-select, you just say prime.
Let me go to Man of Tomorrow. Yeah, he's been waiting.
Hey, how's it going, guys? For the person who came up with this term, he's not even select himself. He already admitted that in the video. All he does is sell other people's experiences and make them his own. See, people didn't catch that the video after he made after that. Like, people think it's like, no, he's taking other people's experiences and make it his own. So he's not even select himself. So here's the thing. Man was never called upon to dress up irresponsible behavior. That's what select and non-select means. I was chosen by someone. So if you were chosen by someone, it never comes into play what the quality of the person is that's choosing, right? So it's like, as long as the person have enough biological chromosomes to be a woman, then what she says is select is okay or is golden. So how does that help men at all? So, I mean, it's pretty much a numbers thing. There's really not a lot of eights, nines, and tens. And since nobody shows their work and everybody talks about numbers all the time, you know what the numbers are going to be like. The people who are normally complaining on YouTube about the options that they quote unquote chose.
Mm-hmm.
If those guys were select but not responsible, whose fault is that? I mean, like, so it's a term that's not being used, that shouldn't be used to judge men, because it's just a term of female endearment and empowerment. And we're not talking about Claire Huxtable style women either. We're talking about kind of girls trip type of girls. Those are the type of girls who that would specifically apply to.
How do you say it? Yes.
Yes, team. Yes.
Let's go to D Raptor. D Raptor, your hand is raised. Make it quick.
Okay. What I'm thinking about this select and non-select thing is that women are trying to they see that they're losing their control, and that the white supremacists can no longer keep them in that position of control. And what they're doing is trying to redefine by stroking some men's ego. That 80% of men that don't know where they're going, that want to follow women anywhere. So they're gonna say, well, you are select. You're what we want. And here's the list of actions that we want you to take in our behalf. And here's a list of resources that we want you to give us to allow us to do what we want to do. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion about this select, non-select.
All right, let's go to Super Triz real quick. Yeah, I think Super Triz might have stepped away. Let's go to Raining Woman real quick.
Oh, what'd you say, Mike?
Your hand was raised, so I went to you.
Oh no, that you already addressed it.
Okay. Let's go to Raining Woman real quick.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I actually want to say that the points that Super Triz and Man Tomorrow made were absolutely on point. And I also wanted to say that, for this select thing, to be selected just for a bed partner, if that makes a man feel good, that's not really saying much of him or much of the person or the people that select them. No more than a woman being selected just for her looks, but she brings absolutely nothing else to the table. So I just wanted to say that. And so, okay, thanks.
Bingo.
Let me go to Todd City.
Yeah, the whole select, non-select thing, that don't even correlate with somebody like me. I jumped off the porch early, you know what I'm saying? I had women approach me, try to do, you know what I'm saying? And that don't, I have to like, you know what I'm saying? I have to do that. I have to be in that position. You know what I'm saying? That don't make sense to me. But on the other side of this, usually when I get on these panels and stuff, like I don't be talking about relationships and stuff. I just be really beating the drum on, you know what I'm saying, bringing that responsibility back to uh, the women who have children. You know what I'm saying, and they just won't release custody. They'll rather struggle with these children and let them be all fucked up, and then say all the good men left. Meanwhile, the you know what I'm saying? That is the cornerstone of most of these issues, from relationships to uh, family to, you know what I'm saying? That's the nucleus of it all. You feel me? And I feel like as men, we have to destroy these goofy narratives, you know. And while we have resources like this, we can use them like the Black Brain Trust to uh talk about early childhood development, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And help us actually enrich our lives. Some of this stuff is just so crazy. It's just like you can't even engage with a lot of these people because they're not on the same brain wave. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, oh, you're select, you're not select, and it's like, no, like don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like that. In my head, that has never occurred to me if I was select or non-select. Do you like me? Yes or no type of shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to the term or the dialogue and when it is happening, because usually if I hear too many selects, man, I think Nintendo, with the up
the
up
milk
down
button.
down, left right, select start, BABA select start. That's that little cheat code right there. So let me go to Pharaoh, man. He's been chilling and waiting patiently.
What's good with everybody? What's good everybody on the panel? What's up, Mike?
Ben's gang.
Hey, with AMG. But anyway, I've kind of been in and out of this select and non-select war, and it's kind of funny because both dating coaches Rom and ARC, when they kind of like, they did like an offline debate from what I was told, and on ARC side, he doesn't use that term because it was subjective to him because he used alpha and beta. But what he doesn't know is that alpha and beta is subjective as well, because pretty much how you guys using it is pretty much used towards sex. So my thing is both of those terms are very subjective as hell. Even Rom had a video, and shout out to MOT because he said it, because Rom did actually say he was non-select himself. People didn't catch that and didn't say that, but that's none of my business though. But anyway, he said that you can be select and non-select depending on what region you in. He said you can be from New York. If you're not getting luck in New York and go down south, women will probably fawn more towards you. So there's been these videos after videos after videos, but it seemed as if people want to take things for what he says and mix it in terms to what they figure.
Mhm.
And they come out and they starting to like, because they not producing men, they start beating you over the head about, you know, the type of women that they can pull, which nobody's not really giving out no receipts, only but AMS and Kevin Samuels. But nobody out here showing they not showing they work about who they can pull. Even if then, I mean, it's just a fallacy at this point, and I really want people to drop it. And at the end of the day, it's really, I would say, people over here on the Black Brain Trust, I would say, to be real, we will be considered the select, because to be honest, everything is a gynocrat and a matriarchal. So what's select to them is really backwards. It's really, it holds no weight. So I mean, that's why I don't lose my mind over it. It's just, it gets on my nerve when people try to dangle that over your head, especially when you having conversations and they just dangle, oh, you an incel. And that's another argument, that incel piece. I want people to get rid of that. There's no such thing as a black incel. Black men have demonstrated that they will mess with a fat, ugly woman before they become an incel. We see it every day, daily. They will make their argument of making messing with fat chicks.
Mhm.
That's, I mean, it's all right. I don't care. But that incel term, just like BGS, for black people need to get rid of that. That is something that white manosphere that they've been dealing with. Don't put that Elliot Roger, George Soudini mess on the black man. That's just another thing sitting over talking about, oh, black men don't get no pussy. I want people to stop that. And
Hey,
that's all I got to say.
Hey, I just want to say real quick, select should be used as a verb, an action word, for what you are doing. You're the one to do the selecting. That's really what time it is. You know, I don't think it's really any more complex than that. It's you do the selecting. All right, man can only make a man can only make a wife a wife. You know what I mean? You know, you can only take a woman to her, top level from a relationship standpoint by you doing that. You're the one who has to do the choosing. Best a woman can do is maybe give you a little hint that she has interest, but outside of the interest hint, you've got to select, because even if she gives you an interest hint, you don't select her, it's not going to happen. So use it as a verb. Just look at that simple. Don't take it any more serious than that. That's how I would really look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can I jump in real quick, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to talk just real briefly about the whole select, and I'm talking about the individuals, their interpretation of select, not Black Brain Trust interpretation of select. And what you'll find is that these quote unquote select men, right? These select men these are the men that never leave the hood. These are the men that never leave their community, never travel, never been anywhere, right? They're nesting in their environment. They're displaying female characteristics. They're female identifiers, right? And why is it that these individuals stay in the hood, they never leave their environment, they never travel, they never go anywhere? Because their brand cachet doesn't extend past their community, their immediate surroundings. It doesn't resonate because that particular standard that they adhere to, that comprises being select, is not universal. As the gentleman said, it's very subjective. It's subjective in a Black community. Other communities have a clear-cut understanding of what it is to be a man that is to be desired. It's well established. Why? Because men have set that standard, and it's based on productivity. But see, in the Black community, it's subjective. It's not really tangible. It's swag and game and all this other nonsense, right? But they can't go anywhere else and bring that particular brand of selection along with them. That's the reason why they stay where they're at. And they understand that quite clearly. And they don't want you to go anywhere else either. Because once you go somewhere else, then you'll realize, like, wait a minute. Damn, I thought the whole time I was non-select. Now when I go over here, I realize I am select. Everywhere else I go, I'm select. I can go to China. I can go to Korea. I can go to Brazil. I can go to Europe. I'm select. The only place I'm not select is right here in the hood. And I don't want to be in the hood any damn way. So what difference does it make? And now that men are beginning to realize that, that's the problem. Because once the productive men go, so does the resources.
All right, let me go to Cyber9. He's had his hand up for quite some time.
So I'm about to do this. And Mike, at any time, you feel free to stop me if I'm out of order, okay? I think Man of Tomorrow, like I said, he says it best, you know, with that whole select, non-select stuff that, you know, I think the foundation, nucleus of the people who come up with that base it off of sex, you know, and their interpretation or their prerogative into another man, you know, how much sexual intercourse he gets. And they reel the weekend, or they reel the unwise who feel that they have to measure themselves up with some type of yardstick in terms of how much physical intercourse that they get from some woman. And, you know, I don't know. And I think I speak for maybe the majority of the people here. You know, when I'm out in certain areas and I see, you know, people who have that type of mindset, you know, Cyber 7, I dub what I call a Kevlar mindset, a Kevlar mentality. My mentality is Kevlar. And, you know, people will say things, people will look a certain way when you don't fit what is their norm for them. You know, I pull up with jeans and cowboy boots on, you know, and I'm just like, hey, it is what it is. And so I don't really think about it, but I'm gonna say this, and like I say, stop me if I'm out of order from what I'm about to say. Because I think, you know, we dotting around the edges here, right? And you know, we're gonna put it on point. Let's put it on point. To those out there listening, you know, these other YouTube channels, they're not your friends, they're not your teachers, they're not giving you nothing enriching. You know, Taz exclusive to teacher, he's not your teacher. Taz Gold exclusive of the B1 network.
Try not to promote those names, brother. We don't
okay.
give these people credibility.
So, you know, those channels where a lot of you all are hearing this type of rhetoric, this type of narrative, they're not giving you nothing enriching. They're not feeding you, never have, never will. You know what I'm saying? And you know, who cares? You know, no man in his right mind handling his business every single day. No matter what that business is, you're not going around thinking about who's choosing you, who's selecting you, who's preferring you. You too busy. You got too much stuff on your plate to be worried about, to deal with your reality and what you need to keep doing to keep what you got going. You know what I'm saying? And you had one cat on. I think his name was Jay something. I can't pronounce his but he was here.
Jay Shine.
There you go. Yeah, brother from New York. I agree with a lot of what that brother was saying. And I'm just gonna keep it real. Again, Man of Tomorrow says it best. And Man of Tomorrow, I know you listening because you hear. I've adopted that mentality, brother, before I knew who you was. And when I heard when you were saying it on YouTube, you know, it was great. And I'll be honest, I've been teaching nephews, other brothers out there that I don't even know, who don't look at YouTube, probably don't give a freak about YouTube. I've been giving them that particular type of game, and this worked wonders for them, and it's been life changing for those brothers. Is that, you know, stop caring about what the opposite sex thinks of you. Women are gonna be there from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth, and you know, I'm gonna just close out and just say, you know, who cares? You know, select, non-select, be about your business and be about the business that pertains to you handling your business. If those, for those of y'all that can understand what I mean by that. And that's all I got, man. Who cares, man? Quit letting these soft terminologies and soft ideologies, things that's not making of a man, define you.
All right, let me go to Wacky Water. Oh, he had his hand up.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. A few weeks ago, I read an article about a 5-year-old autistic boy in Tennessee in which his school district threatened him, you know, to press charges on him for sexual abuse, and threatened to make this 5-year-old boy a registered sex offender because he hugged a fellow classmate. Okay, and you know, another news, I think most of you guys are aware of this, in which in Virginia last month, a young girl, young so-called black girl with dreadlocks, she claimed that a group of boys held her down and cut her hair. And I think a week or 2 weeks later, her family admitted that she lied. Now I'm bringing up these two things because, well, in Virginia, you know, I think those boys who was accused of holding her down, cutting her hair, they was like under heavy investigation at that time. But once again, like I said, it come to find out that the girl was lying all along. Now, my reason for bringing these two instances is that because of the current climate in America, where you have, you know, where you've seen, you know, news of females coming out and accusing the different males of abuse, of different forms of abuse, whether it's sexual, physical, and what have you, and whether these allegations are false or if it's true, whether the, you know, the proof adds up or it doesn't add up. The fact of the matter is, we're at a time now where a lot of males are being accused of abuse, and just the accusation or the allegation itself is destroying males. And it's even going to the point where young boys now are being accused of crimes. And it's to a point where young girls feel comfortable falsely accusing boys of abuse. And these boys, you know, are at risk of having their whole lives ruined. I mean, think about it. A 5-year-old is at risk of being a registered sex offender for hugging a classmate. That could ruin him for the rest of his life. Now, the reason why I'm bringing these things is that us in the so-called black manosphere, these are the topics that we should be bringing up and coming together as a unit to combat these things, these policies that's trying to destroy men, and find ways to combat that. Instead, we just want to make videos roasting each other because someone made a video stating an opinion that we don't agree with. You know, you got other people right here wondering how come, you know, black women don't like us and stuff like that. Listen, when you live in a society where because you are a male, you're doomed to being destroyed by these misandrous laws.
30 seconds.
And you worried about these low-level topics, then something's wrong with you, man. That's what I have to say.
All right. Let's go to Super Triz, man. He got his hand up.
You already addressed me, Mike. We good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Manitoba.
See, guys, here's the problem. If you was a productive male, you wouldn't need other standards for masculinity. So when you come up for other standards of masculinity, you just outing yourself as a person who couldn't cut it with the normal standards of being a man. So you have to expand what being a man is, so that way your ass could be included. Like, I don't get why people don't understand that. It's really just that simple. You can't put yourself in an environment and then base your whole masculinity off somebody else picking your masculinity for you. That means that you're being assigned a mission by somebody who don't know what masculinity is. So they go off what they think masculinity is, because masculinity to them is something that they can control. So when you lower yourself to that level and form of standard of masculinity, like, no other race thinks being a kept man is something you should brag on or about for a second. But that's what that comes close to when you start using these terms to try to define yourself as a person who appeals so much so to people who don't require productivity. It's just an abdication of masculinity for things that are inherently are not masculine. And all you need to do is put lace trim, sundress, and some pumps on that, and you'll just call that a woman. It's just too effeminate to even go after. So that's all I got.
All right. Let me go to Pharaoh. Pharaoh got his hand up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little piggyback off of MOT. See, this is what happens, you know, when I say when you allow the matriarchy to raise your sons. And I've told women this in the past. You have these foolishness arguments online, and even sometimes you have these foolishness arguments in person. We have this dick policing where black men's who they sleeping with, even though this individual has paid hundreds of student loans for him to come work for him, but he's sleeping with a non-ADOS individual.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what this is, and they wonder why we can never get anywhere. Zoe Royalty said something that was kind of key in the chat about being a collective of having $0 by 2053. I think it's going to be way before that.
Mm-hmm.
People blaming saying that the baby boomers dropped the ball on us. Well, as millennials, these generations, the Z's, gonna be blaming stuff on the millennials, saying that you ain't do crap for them. Mm-hmm. See, there's no big of a difference. And this is what was going on. This is what happens. And I'm glad that people like the Black Brain Trust is finally taking their voices and they're turning the narrative, because I'm sick and tired of hearing these lies, this propaganda, this negative connotation about what Black masculinity is. Mm-hmm. And so I would say as to tonight and through on for 2020 and 2021 and on, that bull crap, that bull mess that y'all spewing, mm-hmm. It starts tonight. Mm-hmm. That select versus non-select, I do not want to hear that. That alpha versus beta, because to be honest with you, y'all don't use these terms correctly anyway. All alpha and beta is just a ranking system. Hey, the president is an alpha, the vice president is a beta. What you gonna say? The vice president is the weakest link? Mm-hmm. So all these are just nigga terms. So that's all I gotta say.
All right, let me go to Thai City.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, Mike, y'all keep it professional, bro. But I mean, let's keep it G, man. These just some weirdo ass niggas, man. Just to keep it a buck, bro. Like if somebody told me that I wasn't select based on the perception of from a woman's perspective, bro, I would never talk to that dude again. We could never be friends. We could never be cool, bro. Like
Mhm.
you have to totally rewire your brain to start doing that. You feel me? Um, that's one thing.
Preach,
I got
preach.
I got what's his name made a point about the baby boomers, and you know how I feel about that. The millennials are actually calling out other millennials, and
It was
this
me.
ain't, and before the boomers, it was you still seeing steady progress. It's not the same, you know what I'm saying? And so it's not like the millennials and the boomers.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening now is an actual cultural shift where people are holding people accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going on now. But man, like I said, man, in some of the other live streams we did, man, these guys ain't who they say they are, man. They just got a persona, and it's like the
Facts.
fact that people run with this shit, bro. It's just you. Even you said it, Mike. Like you don't see these people, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like you will never see these goofy motherfuckers, man.
Nah,
They
man.
they get on, and it's like, dog, what are you actually accomplishing? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're not bringing any information that can improve anybody's life. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
get on the Black Brain Trust, and Lionel bringing blockchain technology and cryptocurrency stuff. I'm making trades based off of news and information that I'm receiving. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually applying things. When I first came, I didn't know nothing about Kumon. You know what I'm saying? I thought
Mm-hmm.
that I had to have my son in Montessori. I can do Kumon until I get him in Montessori.
Mm-hmm.
These things I actually apply to my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? My perspective on electric vehicles will change. All these things happen because I'm conversing and we are discussing ideas. These aren't fucking unproven theories. These aren't history lessons of nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is like it's actual progress, and it's an actual tool that can be used. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you hear some of this shit, you be like, where these people even come from?
It's
You
an
know what I'm saying?
information
How can
source.
anybody relate to them?
It's an information source, but we're also an acquired taste. That's why we have you know, a certain amount of subscribers versus some other channels, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a direct reflection of what's going on out here. The
Mhm.
minority is the minority in the group. You know what I'm saying? It can only be that way if it's, and that's just the truth. That the numbers don't lie.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Let me
That's
go
all I
to.
got to say, man. These dudes, some cornball, goofy ass niggas, man. Just get online with these made up hypothetical theories. You know what I'm saying? They get whoever to follow them, and they think they just so cool, bro. And it's like, dog, that don't even fly in real life.
Yeah, let me go to Pharaoh, man. He got his hand up.
Oh man, we just going to keep it flaming, man. And the funny thing is, and I don't have to agree with Brother Edward Anderson, man, when he says that 60% of the community is just gone, and he's being really conservative with that number. Because to me, I say 80.
Mm,
80%. I say 80% of your community is just totally gone. And you can just look at it like Ty City said. Look at the subscriber count. Look at the algorithm. What these people, where they find to, what they listen to, colorism, and all this other bull nonsense. I mean, like it's going to be about pretty much building with our own. And to be honest, let's say when shit does hit the fans, we already know that a lot of these people gonna want answers, are gonna come back. And what I would suggest, if they do supposedly come back and want answers, especially if they come over here to Black Brain Trust, I'll just tell them, hey, we got thousands of videos on this crap. Just look through it, but we not gonna tell y'all. I'll do exactly like that. I don't care if they say that I'm selfish or if I'm a lame. I don't give a dang, because to be honest, what you guys saying today is how you really feel about us. And that's fine. But I also have the chance to reject you when you come. And I don't, and you know, so.
Let me go to Rain Woman. She has a hand raised.
I just want to say that yes, indeed, you are an acquired taste. As a matter of fact, exquisite. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. All right, let's go to D. He got his hand raised.
When I was about 10 years old, I met my first Black American in the country where I was born. And he heard my friends, other little kids than me, call me by a nickname. And I don't know what caused him to say this to me. He said, son, don't let anybody call you by a name other than what you choose or what your parents gave you. Because that name is to degrade you. And those words stuck with me from then until today. And I'm listening to all of these people calling people these things and choosing up the site and out here on YouTube. And I laugh about it. But it's really serious. And the more serious, the more that I look at this thing, the more that conversation with that older guy stayed in my mind. And tonight, I mean, from the time I heard Mike talking tonight, I mean, I was laughing because it took me back to when I was 8 years old.
All right, let's go to Cyber9. He has his hand raised.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me clear? I'm like across my island peeling a pomegranate.
No, that's fine. That's fine,
Okay.
man. We can hear you.
So just two things. At the brother before D Raptor, I gotta disagree with you a little bit, just ever so slightly, because we keep it 100 here at the Black Brain Trust. That if the unenlightened were to so change their tune, because some people can change. People have that capacity to change if they're honest and really see the error of their ways. I wouldn't reject them. I wouldn't reject knowledge from them now, unless they're coming with ulterior motive. I wouldn't reject them, so I would have to disagree with you slightly on that regard, but that's about it on that. Everything else, I'm 100. I'm in the back of the whip with you. Number two, I asked a question, everyone. I say we put to a vote. How should we deal? What should we say or do as a solution, short term or whatever? How should we deal with people that are of the likeness that we're talking about? I think Mike said something cool when he said, you know, he's out there getting it in and he's doing it and I can identify it, but he don't see those people, you know? So I say, when we hear garbage like that and they asking about this and 100,000 talking points that really don't have a foundation, I say we just respond to any individuals to say, you know what? I don't see you. I don't see you. And be done with it. And just let the silence destroy them. That's all I can.
Hey, but can I jump in real quick, Mike?
Go ahead.
Because I definitely hear what that brother is saying, but the problem is that a lie unchallenged can become the truth. And so sometimes you do have to address things. You don't have to necessarily address the individual, but sometimes you want to address the talking points, and reaffirm your positioning. And I think that's what's occurring now. I know an individual earlier, specifically called out a channel, but and Mike quickly corrected that, because that's not necessary to call out the channel, because in essence it does promote that channel, But there is nothing personal against these individuals. Because obviously they're just unenlightened. Now that doesn't necessarily mean I'll tolerate their errant behaviors, but I mean it's really nothing personal. I'm with Mike. A lot of these people I don't see, especially like in real life. The actual spaces that I move in, I don't see people like that unless they're like maybe a patient, but the interaction with individuals like that is in a very limited scope. It's to provide a particular service and then I move on. But as far as like having people in my circle, in my personal space, as far as who I consider an associate or a friend, I don't interface with people like that. So the things that they say, it doesn't even matter to me, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not vying for their attention. I'm not vying for the attention of the women that they refer to. And when they talk about who's doing the selecting, it doesn't matter to me. I'm moving in a whole different space. See, for me, it's not an issue about like, getting women or getting access to women. My issue is time. I just don't have time. I'm so on my purpose. I don't have time for a lot of women. I just don't. And so naturally, I have to be more selective about who I spend my time with. And so in essence, I'm the one that does the selecting. I don't wait for women to select me. I select the woman that I feel is appropriate for my life, period. Because I just don't have time for anything else.
All right, let me go to this new person, LS. LS, can you hear us?
Yeah, it's me, Ellis.
Oh, Ellis. Oh, man.
Ellis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a nickname thing. Super Tris. Is he there still?
Super Tris is on mute.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just muted.
All right. Let me ask you something real quick. You said you do the choosing. I want to say your points are all good. Like what you're saying, like your focus is all good, but you said you are at the point where you do the choosing. Does that work every time for you?
Well, again, like the spaces that I'm in, right? What I actually bring to the table resonates, in this particular marketplace, because I'm around other productive people. The actual metric is productivity. The metric isn't necessarily, intangible, superficial characteristics. The metric is productivity, and there's a certain base level of productivity that's a prerequisite to even move in these spaces. And I think the majority of individuals, probably all individuals on this particular panel, know exactly what I mean when I say that. Like I just don't like certain areas. I just don't go in. Period. I like certain spaces I don't move in because there's nothing there for me. There's nothing there for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just want to touch on the select non-select thing because from what I understand it to be, it's just a way to define like the sexual dynamics happening between men and women. And there's some men that just don't understand why certain things are going the way that they're going for them. And so the person who came up with the phrase has spoken to all different types of people and heard all different types of perspectives and experiences and was able to categorize after he saw a couple of different patterns. So that's all it is. I think it's not really a form of attacking, but it's easy to hijack that and use it as a weapon to bring people down. But it's just a way to bring understanding to something that is not exactly a science, like interacting men and women. So that's the way I always understood it. When it was told to me,
actually, it is the science. It's simply the path of least resistance, right?
Well,
and so other cultures have realized that you have to keep certain behaviors in check, and you have to set standards. And if you don't set standards, the end result is what you see in the quote unquote black community,
right?
With the whole movement,
the MOT.
When it was told to me that women always choose the men, it just kind of made sense to me, like because a lot of dudes can go and mentally they could go out one day and just go out in public and do what they need to do. And as they're doing this, they see women that they think are attractive. So mentally, they're choosing these women in their heads. They're like, oh yeah, she's hot. Let me go talk to her. And then they go talk to her. And because the woman didn't choose the guy, she didn't even notice him. She's going to say no. She's going to reject him. So, however, if that woman chose the guy first and sent him the signals, well, then it's up to him as to whether he wants to deal with her or not.
So it's still the guy's choice.
But within this community,
choose, but the woman chooses first.
But see, the problem is that within this particular continuum, we've allowed latitude where women make decisions not based in logic and reasoning. Other communities have created an environment where a woman has to make the best choice.
Well,
you don't have to make the best choice.
It's a biological thing, though, isn't it?
Excuse me?
It's a biological thing, though, isn't it?
No. I'm sorry. Hold on. I gotta ask this. So yeah, I because we're talking science now. So someone tell me from a scientific standpoint how that LS, my bad, qualifies as scientific item A, right? And I'm gonna give you item B. Anyone or LS, explain to me what relevant authority backs that up so that that's canon, because it's not biological. It's
what's not biological?
That women or the female choose men, because in order for someone to say that, there has to be, to me, that there has to be an authority that backs that up. And I'm sorry, brother, but
I see what you mean. Let me say this: the reason why I said it was biological was because the whole thing, I guess, in our community is that women focus on like the taller guys, the more muscular dudes. That seems to be like the common trope, right? That's what arouses them, right? Yes or no?
I have a question.
Yes, but
I can break this whole thing down.
I can too.
Hold on.
Well, I'm not done with what I'm saying. Let me finish my point, and I'll listen. I'll hear what you guys are saying. So, like the whole thing about them being attracted to like the strongest, most muscular type of masculine type of dude, kind of goes back to evolution, where they wanted the best genes in order to keep their legacy going. That's my understanding. So, how is that not biological?
Because
how is the arousal? How is the physiological arousal of a woman not biological?
Wait a minute, you're kind of shifting your point now.
How so?
Because we're getting away.
How? Where I was hoping he was going. So is Flavor Flav considered select?
Yeah. Oh, to some people, yeah, probably. And I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. How would you define him as? Why would you say he's select though?
I'm not. I would say he was select because a lot of women was trying to select him.
Right. And why do you think they were doing that?
It wasn't based off biology.
Right. It was based off of money, which is something that's man-made. So that brings into there's more to it than just the biological thing. That brings to like a mask type.
Ty City just hit it on the head, because see what happened is that our environment is comprised of a lot of man-made structures, a lot of man-made concepts and principles. So now, the actual core essence of biology has been adversely affected, because now, previously there was a time when there were definitive consequences for certain actions. But now the consequences are not affected because you have support from the government and things of that nature. So now it's like, okay, I could make any decision. It doesn't have to be based on a particular biology. It doesn't have to be based on logic and reasoning, but the outcome is based on how the government and other entities within the government and legislature respond to my choices as opposed to the environment itself.
Yeah, we've
Now I
socially
see. Now I
evolved
see
into
why. I see what you guys are saying. Now there's
yeah,
other reasons as to why dudes get selected by women, but at
It's
the end of the
pollution.
day, it's pollution.
yeah, we've socially evolved into a situation where women have to move based on survival.
Right, but at the end of the day, none of this cancels out the basic old-fashioned physiological method by which a woman gets aroused and what arouses her. That's still
I could break that down. Hold on, let me say
Yeah,
something. Can I say something? Hold on.
Yeah,
Mike,
you got to make it quick because we need to go to Josh and then we need to go to Complex. Complex is waiting on the phone.
All right, I'm just gonna be real quick. As far as LS saying that it's biological, but in today's time, we're at a time now where a lot of females are just sleeping with anything, and anybody. So how could this be this evolutionary biological process where the female selects the biggest, strongest male, where now females are just aroused and sleeping with any type of male, whether they're strong or weak, tall or short, fat and skinny. So that just contradicts the theory of this whole evolutionary change.
Well, let me say this in order to clarify. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the only way that happens, but if I came off that way, I apologize. So to clarify, I'm not saying that what you guys are saying are wrong. I'm just saying based on what I understand. All these other things that you guys are mentioning, like swag and money and everything else, that's all man-made stuff. But at the end of the day, there's still like the biological aspect to it, like the arousal aspect to it. I'll start saying arousal instead of biological. The arousal aspect.
All right, let's go to Josh.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on?
So, I mean, I just kind of hopped on because of what Ty City said earlier. That I totally agree with. I don't see. First off, let me start out by saying I don't hop on these panels like this or whatever, especially when y'all talking about stuff like this. I try to stay clear from these type of conversations, but I like to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? But Ty City hit the nail on the head in my opinion, especially when it comes to that select non-select crowd. I don't really believe in it, to be honest. I mean, that's just my look on it or whatever. I mean, there's women out here, plenty of women out here for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's
I would figure you wouldn't agree with it because you being a database person and select being one of the statements that could be compromised.
Exactly. But but I mean, that's all I wanted to say. And then salute to you guys, man. I really appreciate it because I'm always learning. I'm always researching, especially out for the topics y'all talk about. That's really all I wanted to get on here and say. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just happy you guys accepted me as part of the Black Brain Trust and everything. And I contribute. I mean, if we talking about some computer shit, some database stuff or whatever, I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? But all this other stuff, I listen to it because I be getting game from you guys and and learning. So appreciate it.
All right, let me go to complex design. Go ahead, MLT.
Yeah, I got a question though. For LS.
Yeah.
For the guy who slept with all those women in South Carolina, was that guy doing that based off of I don't know, biological arousal type thing?
To be frank, he was probably I didn't even listen to that video. I only have seen or heard about it.
Sure.
I saw the guy is probably just swag or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but when you keep saying biological, it's not biological. Like, you do understand how the Black community has turned out. That's not a biological thing. They did it because they can have control of the situation. It had nothing to do with biology. I mean, you do recognize that's what's happening here, right? Or am I just getting it wrong? I mean,
I'm not going to say you're getting it wrong.
No, I'm just saying that when you put out your points of view, there's observable facts we can see on the ground that totally goes against the biological argument. And you have to know that that's the case before you come on and just say, it's something biological. So when do men get their biological needs met? And why do we need to skip over what men want to just focus on what women want? Like, this is the thing that we run into. Like, we can't just like in other cultures, a woman can want biologically what she wants. If a man can't produce, he doesn't get access to a woman. So what a woman biologically arousal and all of what she wants, it never comes into play because there are structure in place in societies that don't let her run wild. Like in our society,
Is that the case in our society?
yes, it is.
Okie
Wait a minute,
dokie.
you don't know that?
Okie dokie.
No, I'm asking a question. You seriously didn't know that before I just made that point?
No, I was just asking.
No, but
I think he doesn't. I'm with him. If LS, if you don't mind, because this is what this is about. You know, we're politicking. If you don't mind me asking, I'm Cyber 7, by the way.
Go ahead.
I'm a systems architect. If you don't mind me asking, what's your professional background?
I'm a mechanic.
Okay. So the reason I asked that is because a lot of us, most of us on here, you know, we're businessmen, scientists, computer technologists, and so forth. So some of us, you know, have a scientific background and or a medical background or some interaction with that. And so, you know, at least me, and I think maybe the other brothers could probably feel or say the same thing. We're not attacking you. And I know Mike, I know Mike would co-sign this. We're not attacking you, but
you got to make it quick because Complex is waiting.
Spit out.
Yeah, we're not. We call things that are questionable at the Black Brain Trust. So that's all. You know. So
yeah, Ellis has been with us all summer, so he understands the premise of the dialogue and the context. Let me go to Complex because he's been waiting. He's on the phone.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? What's good, Ellis? What's good, everyone?
What up? What up?
John.
Oh, nothing much. Hey, so I mean, this. I'm just giving my thoughts on what's being talked about. This isn't like a response to Ellis, to MOT, to anyone. This is just kind of my take on the subject matter as it's being discussed right now. I'll tell you like this. I don't believe in that biology bullshit. And here's the reason why. Is because when you look around you, your reality does not reflect simple biology. Okay? What it actually reflects, it reflects conscious intent. Okay? The streets, the buildings that you work in, the job that you work, the food that you eat, everything is a conscious decision. Okay? Even if you say, "Whoa, I'm programmed. Oh, we're programmed to do this. We're programmed to do that." Okay, your mind made the decision to do that when there were other options afforded to you. Consciousness. All of this shit is consciousness, bro. It is all conscious decisions. Now, why do we make the type of decisions that we make? I think that's the more pertinent question, because the decision is conscious. You thought about it. The dirty dick nigga that you lay down with, you didn't do it just, it didn't just blindly happen, right? Like I don't know, biology had it, made it happen. No, that's not how it happened. Like we do conscious shit. There's dudes that go after certain types of women. There's women that go after certain types of dudes. There's women who, and it actually, to me, it actually kind of, it trumps biology in the sense of the type of reproductive decisions that a woman will make. Same goes for men as well, because there are men who are responsible with their reproductive organs, and there are others who are not. Right? Now, how do we determine which one was biologically driven and the other one was driven by a conscious decision? And the fact of the matter is that the one thing that separates humans from just about every other living, breathing species here is that we have, everything is consciousness based by and large. Whereas with other animals and other species, it's reversed. Biology dictates a lot of what they do, and sometimes they could do some things that humans teach them, which shows that there's a cognitive level of intelligence and consciousness present in these animals. But with humans, it's the other way around. We're more conscious than we are biological. So it's like, you know, if you saw a chick who repeatedly chose the same whack ass nigga, like time after time after time after time, right? Like, there is a reason for that, and it is not biology. That's just my whole point.
All right, let me go to DE Raptor. He has his hand raised.
I'm gonna go back to what Cyberdyne was asking before. How do you I agree with Supertish and Cyberdyne that we at Black Brain Trust every week we set out to do a certain. We focus on certain aspects of life, of living with Black people. And yes, we must focus on that, but we also, as you go forward, you can't allow somebody to come in and pollute what you're doing. So you have to have conversations like this in order to kind of like keep the weeds from growing in the space that we already cleared, and trying to make plant something into the minds of people. This is the way that we should be going. This is the direction we should go in. We should be taking this kind of actions to deliver ourselves from the situation that we were in before we came along. You know, you follow in a direction, but you also have to look at the people who are looking at the feel around you, and stop the stupid ideas from creeping back into the space that you already cleared. That's my answer to that question.
All right, let me go to Rainy Woman has her hand raised.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Before I go to sleep, I just have to say one thing. This stream will not be complete without me saying, yes!
That's for MOT. All right, you have a good one. Let's go to Wacky.
All right,
Water.
later, miss. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to Wacky Water. Oh, he has his hand raised.
Sorry to sound redundant, but I guess I have to be. We live in a society that's highly debaucherous and that's highly promiscuous, where males and females are extremely promiscuous. Therefore, I'm just trying to figure out, where is this biological or this selection process on the part of females, where if there was such a big selection process as far as in Black America, then there would not be this high rate of debauchery and promiscuity in the so-called community. There would not be this high rate of out of wedlock children by multiple men if there was this biological selection process on the part of females. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, where is it? Because what I'm seeing is that, you know, I would prefer we live in a society where females have a strong selection process when it comes to selecting, when it comes to, I'm using that dumb word select, but when it comes to choosing, or okay, I'll use the word selecting the right male, because if there was such thing as that, then we would not have these high rate of out of wedlock children, this extremely high abortion rate in the so-called Black community, in which abortion is the #1 cause of death of so-called Black people in America. You know, it would not be this high spread of HIV and gonorrhea and chlamydia. You know, in which there's a very, I mean, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and what's the other? Well, I lost my train of thought on that, but you know, chlamydia and gonorrhea, these are two out of a whole lot of STDs or STIs that's spreading a whole lot. So if there was this strong selection process, where is it? because there are facts proving the opposite. There isn't.
Yeah, let me go to LS. LS has his hand raised.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, instead of putting it as biological, I'm gonna go back and say that it's more of what the female is aroused by. The whole reason I brought that word up is because I was speaking towards arousal due to physical attributes that males have and the way that they carry themselves. That's what I was talking about.
I mean, LS, I think we understand what you're talking about, but what I'm trying to say is that that selection, as far as the physical attributes that the male bring, females are aroused by anything, any physical attributes that a male brings, whether he's, like I said before, whether he's tall or short, fat or skinny, physically fit or not physically fit. I mean, when it comes to this high level of debauchery, then that means that what females are aroused by is almost anything. And that also includes the males too. Males are basically aroused by almost anything also. So that's why I'm saying that this myth, I call it this myth, right? And not to attack you, but I've heard it plenty of times. I'm saying it does not exist.
It absolves responsibility. Okay,
Yes,
I could consciously make a decision to mess with the wrong chick, right? But then what? Can I just excuse it all? Can I just chalk it all up to biology?
Yeah, you guys.
I
You
mean,
guys
Well,
I was just gonna say, you guys all have good points. You all
No. I mean, but Ellis, it's not. I'm not. This is more just for general discussion. This ain't targeted towards you because just what O was just saying. This is something that's actually been peddled in the damn manosphere when they have these types of discussions, right? That it's just woman it's nature, and you got to understand nature, and it's this and bullshit, dude. Like everybody gets up every goddamn day and makes a day full of decisions about how their life's going to play out for that day. That includes who they're going to fuck, if they're going to let them fuck with no protection, all of it. All of it is conscious.
What it does, it covers up. I'm sorry to talk over somebody. What these types of argument does, it justifies the perversion of Black society, because we are a highly perverted people, unfortunately, and it justifies our perversion. That's it.
I just want to jump in real quick and just state that I spent many years inadvertently collecting data. I talked about this on a previous stream where I spent a majority of my 20s pursuing women. I spent in northern, even my late teens, early 20s. I was literally in the streets, sun up and sundown, looking for women, and so I was able to gather a lot of data. And so the fallacy that that was conveyed to me as a youth was that if you do X, Y, and Z, the women will come. And what I found through my exploits is that there is no specific formula. Like I remember, when I didn't have my own place, when I didn't have a car, I was like, man, if I had a car, man, wait to see how many chicks I get. Then I got a car, and it was like, okay, dang, it's not really that big of a difference. You still got females that are on the bus stop, females that are walking up and down the street with no transportation, no foot patrol, and they still playing games. Okay, wait till I get my own place. Then there's not gonna be any games. Then I got my own place. Then it was still women playing games who lived at home and they had 10 other people in the house with them. So in essence, there is no specific formula. This is the fallacy with dating coaching, is that they convince people that here are some of the steps, and if you do these steps, then women will respect you, and that's just not the case. There's so many different nuances and variables. I mean, hell, you have women who will have 4 kids and to decide they want to start pursuing women, and so all the standards they have for a particular mate, they totally contradict in the pursuit of women.
Triz, I was gonna go there. Triz, I was gonna go there with that whole choosing the same sex too. I don't know how much we chalk that up to biology either.
Well, I mean, with complex. Let's just look at that for a second, and I want to be very careful. I want to be very careful.
Go ahead.
We got to be very careful with this subject. But you look at the standards for a mate that a woman have, and I've seen this with my own eyes. I've studied this very, 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 very deeply because I was in Houston. LER movement is in Houston. He'll probably tell you himself. You'll have a woman who have a specific set of guidelines for their particular mate, but then when their particular mate, they switch their focus from men to women. Now they're pursuing women. They'll pursue a woman who dresses like a man, looks like a man, and blah, 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 that's and the third. But
the worst forms of a man, right?
Yes.
The rest
right. Yes, certain superficial, intangible characteristics. But here's the thing, Mike. Now all of a sudden, those quote unquote physical markers, like say for instance, like when they dated men, the man had to be a certain height. Now when they're dating a woman, that woman doesn't have to be a certain height, even though that woman is dressing like a man. Then they'll say, like, as far as like the way that person dressed, the way that person, the physical build, like a lot of these characteristics. So you really can't say that there's a specific standard. There really isn't. So I'm with the other guy that said, there's more of a lack of standards than anything. But again, it's what the environment permits. So we've adorned the environment in ways. Men have built up the environment to make it more comfortable for the inhabitants. So now the inhabitants don't have to adhere to the laws of nature and are not held accountable, as Complex Design said. There's a diminished level of accountability for certain actions that they take in this environment. This is the reason why you have the choices that you have.
Okay, I want to speak to something that O said.
You can go ahead and do that.
Okay, so I know this is far out from what everybody usually say, but whenever we get to talking about having children out of wedlock, that doesn't remove the father from the equation. Like whether you have the kid married or not married, the man still wants to be involved in the child's life. So what ends up happening is you not wanting to be with the mother turns into this narrative that you're leaving the child. And that's just not true at all, bro.
Oh, I'm not even saying I never even.
That's what I'm saying. So whenever you see somebody say, well, they having these kids out of wedlock, okay, the most fathers will take full custody of the child and won't struggle. That is a decision that a lot of women are making. You know what I'm saying? They are making that decision to be the unfit parent.
Yeah, I think when we use this term in the community of out of wedlock, we really mean non-provisioned. Because Black people aren't getting married either way, right? It doesn't even matter. Marriage as an institution is already being, it's not even relevant anymore.
No, that's what I'm saying. Even though you laid down and had unprotected sex with a man who wouldn't marry you, that guy is still like he not a good dude for that. But men, Black men specifically, are attached to their children way more than these women.
Like Ty City, I'm not denying the points that you're making, but the reason why, remember when I responded to LS with that point, I mentioned a high rate of so-called Black females having out of wedlock children by multiple men.
Oh
and
no,
I use that. Hold on, Ty, and I use that to specify as far as if there is this biological selection process among females, then how come there's a high rate of Black females having these out of wedlock children by multiple men? Because that's the only reason why I brought it up, though. I never
pushback from me on that. But my thing is, what happens after they make that decision?
What? But that's not that. That was never my argument. I'm not even arguing what you saying as far as
father. Whether they're married or not relate to having kids and their arousal. How does that relate to that? How does the marriage, whether they're married or not, when they have kids?
But
Well, it's the decision that they made. He was saying that if it was such a selection process, why would they do that without being married?
with multiple men, remember that,
Right.
with
Because
multiple men.
aroused. Because
So
they're just they're choosing to make decisions that they make because they're choosing to flow with their arousal.
Which is
I would
based on
say-
what?
I think the legal term is called multi-tenant parenting.
I just don't want to get it. I just don't want to get it to where we prioritize it. We prioritize it marriage above these children that already came. You know what I'm saying? And the father's role in this is just taking the blame.
Well, we can't prioritize it. We can't prioritize it above marriage because the children came before it. So by virtue of that and that alone, the children are actually the priority at this point, right? And marriage is
Right.
largely just basically an afterthought in a lot of extents. The only thing that you really can do is grow the fuck up, be adults about being parents, and take care of your children, co-parent. You do what you got to do to get along for the sake of your children, right? Fuck marriage at that point. Like, marriage, that got thrown out the window a long time ago.
Yeah,
basically, what we need to do
that's
is
my whole gripe with the
that's what I'm following.
thing.
That's what I'm following you. That's what I'm following you. It's kind of like, well, shit, the cart, was put before the horse. So we got to deal with it as it is now. We can't circle back, right? So no, I feel what you're saying, Ty.
And like I was saying, not letting the father be involved like they're supposed to, leave these children to be unprotected, out here doing goofy stuff that they wouldn't have got into if they had positive male reinforcement. The woman chooses not to have that aspect in that child's life.
Let me
It's
go to
a choice. It's not biological.
But you know what, Ty? That's why it's important for people to be in my opinion, for people to be married first before they think of having children. Because in my opinion, if people get married first and have children, that's going to reduce the chances of these children lacking a positive male role model.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying the actual argument of out of wedlock children, like, it's too late to even make it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I get you. But understand, like I said before, I never made an argument, saying anything bad about fathers who father these children. I was just using that argument as a point to show that, once again, if you have a high rate, because in the so-called black community, 59% of black mothers that have multiple children have them by multiple men. So I was using that statement to question LS's argument that if there is this selection process, this evolutionary chain, or this arousal, or this choice based on the female's arousal, right? Then how are you going to have almost 60% of females having children by multiple men? That doesn't seem selective to me.
That's because it's masked. It's masked with benefits from the state, right? Like, if I'm a woman, I can be a bit reckless and careless, but it's okay because, if these dudes don't want to stick around or anything like that, I got assistance to help take care of them. So there's a safety net within all of that.
Which further proves that there is no real selection process when it comes to what arouses a female. Right. Because either way, she's going to be protected by the state, no matter what bad decision she makes when it comes to her body.
Right.
So fuck who you want to fuck.
It's a compound of bad mistakes at that point. That's what I'm saying. It starts with this bad decision, goes to this bad decision, which actually extends into the child's life now. You know what I'm saying? There is no selection in any of that shit.
Well, Ty, Richard Victor Dixon makes a really good point. And, that's basically that, our culture isn't focused on children, right? Like, look, the the primary function of sex is reproduction. Hello, humans, if you did not know this, right? You act all surprised and shit when you find out a pregnancy occurs. It's like, well, no shit, you had sex. The fuck do you think the whole point of sex is? If you're gonna do it recreationally, be responsible. You ain't gotta deal with the whole reproduction thing. But since you're not gonna do that, then you know you got kids all over the goddamn place. And so it's kind of like it's really sort of like an unintended consequence, but it actually is kind of intended because again, you consciously have sex with a person. You're consciously doing it. That's a decision. It wasn't like, oh no, I'm going into this semi-comatose state where I just don't know what my body is about to do, and the next thing you know, you're pregnant. No, it doesn't work like that. People get together, they get to the club, they have a couple drinks, they chopping it up. They're like, you know, your place or mine. These are all decisions that led up to this shit. Come on.
Yeah.
And if you got multiple ones by multiple niggas, guess what? You made multiple badass choices consciously.
All right, let's go to Cyberdyne. He has his hand raised.
So I guess I just want to drop a question in here at O and everybody else. Drivers, right? I think we haven't really pulled out what are the drivers of this. And just for an example, to me, you know, when they got songs out there, bands to make her dance, let's break that down, or break that song down for those of you all who know that song. Women are incentivized for the things that they're doing to put them in these positions. But I guess my overall question is to all this, can you all identify, or what would you agree are the drivers that put them in this position to do these things that they're doing, where we have these outcomes?
The culture.
No.
Be a little bit more explicit, because like
I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was gonna say specifically. I mean, I think culture is sort of a catch-all. So I hope I don't take any flack or heat from this, but in my view, I say men, because in a lot of regards, you can't have the shit that you have if dudes are participating in it. Right? You need willing participants to make all this shit go whichever way it's going to go based on what you're trying to do. So if women have men who are willing participants in the bullshit, then you really have to look at the dudes and be like, yo, why weren't you holding these chicks to every bit of the same standards that we hold them to? You enabling this shit. So that's me anyway. I can't stand that fuck nigga shit.
Anybody else before we go to
yeah.
Go ahead, MOT.
I mean, you're trying to cut off behavior that's a conscious choice and decision without responsibility taken for it. You have to go to the individuals who decide to do that. At some point, the United States government and banks decided to stop making thicker and thicker bank vaults. They just started locking people up for longer and longer periods of time. That's the key here. It's individual choice and behavior. I know we're trying to track it down to something that's outside of that, but they're making deliberate choices and decisions because there's no responsibility to pay for it. The taxpayers pay for it. The mothers, the fathers, you know, the future grandfathers pay for it. I mean, you know, they pawn their kids off on everybody. They pay for it. They're really not paying no direct costs for their actual activity that they're actually engaging in, and that's why this shit keeps going on. Then you have like 39-year-old grandmothers, no responsibility taken. So that's all you got. I mean, it's not nature. It's just reckless choice that is encouraged by men and taken advantage of by unprincipled men. As long as you got unprincipled dudes who will do anything, the woman's going to engage in whatever she wants to without structure. Period. Remember, men are always held responsible. Every year they're held responsible. The Me Too shit is holding people responsible. So there is no biological argument here.
MOT, you got
choice.
people. MOT, you got people in this whole black YouTube manosphere, whatever the hell we calling it, actually blaming brothers like us.
Yeah, they said that you educated brothers are the reason why the community looks the way that it looks.
I
Come
mean,
on, man.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Because we're not doing our part by cleaning up after their motherfucking ass. That's why they're saying that shit. That's how come we're not doing our part to them. But we are doing our part by just stepping back and let the chips fall where they fall at. Because here's the deal. It was not part of my plan or on my damn vision board that I was going to be a stepdad to nobody's motherfucking kids. I'm not sure where that where that bullet point came in at, but that's the problem. They always look for everybody else to take the responsibility for their actions, and magically that happens to be the same people that they have the least respect from. You see how that works? That's all I got. Thanks.
And also,
let me step to the side. You guys have to moderate this yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, to
All
answer,
right. Well, go ahead.
well, to answer the brother's question, I mentioned culture, and what I mean by that is that in so-called Black America today, a lot of us accept this notion, and we've accepted it into the culture that we follow today, that anything goes. Anything goes. Whatever someone does, that's their prerogative. It's not my business. People can do whatever they want to do. And when you also add the notion of no one holding females accountable for their actions, when you also add the notion how the state actually fund and protect females who make bad decisions and provide them benefits, we have a culture now where, hey, anything goes. Hey.
If you're getting benefits for a mistake, my question to you is it a mistake?
No. Is it a mistake? No, it's not.
So
no.
See, I think that's the real. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's go right there, because you just basically saying unequivocally no, right? What left? What gray area is left to dive deeper? No, the answer is no. God damn it! If you get benefits from popping out kids, it's not really that much of a mistake, because you're gonna get money for it.
You know what's so funny? Let me add on to what you're saying, Ulysses. Also, you have to realize females have around 20 different forms of contraception. Around that number, somewhere in the double digits. It's like around 20. I don't know. Someone give me the correct number, because it's in the double digits as far as the amount of contraception that females have. And a lot of these contraceptions they have access to due to the benefits at their job, or maybe through maybe through government assistance or what have you. So females have access to multiple forms of contraception in which they can avoid a quote unquote unwanted pregnancy. So where's the mistake? Where's the mistake? When you have when you have all these options to prevent a pregnancy, how in the world could you be pregnant by mistake?
Hey, I'm finna tell you exactly how we could turn this whole thing around. If they gave men the option to opt out financially before the baby's even born, bro, you will see a lot of these women be very careful. Very careful.
Game over.
Or if you just financially incentivize the people who made straight A's and gave those people Section 8 and food stamps rather than these fucking people, you would definitely turn the system around. See, it's all about benefit.
That's even better solution.
Hell yeah, it's a better solution. And you'll get a better society for it.
You sure would.
But yeah, you make a good point. A woman can opt out of total responsibility, all of it. Financial, she can put the kid up for adoption. She don't even have to deal with the kid. It's a lot of different ways that they could get completely out of it. If they just say, you know what, hey, I told this woman I don't want the child. She still want to have it because you know she it's her body, it's her choice, right? That's what we in right now, right? So it's my wallet, it's my finances, it's my future, right? So I should be able to say, hey, I don't want to be financially responsible for this child, and she got enough time to have an abortion. They will be very, very careful with their eggs.
I have another question then, and it's really what Man of Tomorrow had hinted on in terms of bad behavior. And so I guess my next question is, how do what mechanism is a wise mechanism to use to deal with the men who play a part as some of those drivers in terms of having the unproductive and irresponsible behavior? What mechanism would we all agree on is useful to cutting the head off the snake?
There is no mechanism. I mean, there is no mechanism. You have irresponsible people and irresponsible men. The only thing you can do is throw a big ass Joker smile on your face when these people talk about that they need help. That's what you do.
I honestly, MOT, what I would do, I would literally propose. That's hilarious. I would propose this though. I would say, look, every dude, every man who has a child with a woman is, and let's just say he has like multiple, right? 2 kids, 2 baby mamas, 3 kids, 3 of them, whatever, right? He's got to house them. All of them. Their mamas included. So it's like, it's kind of like a forced polygamy thing, because these are the same people who espouse all of the notions or the benefits, or, you know, should we pursue polygamy and all this? I say, well, I honestly think that you should be in a forced polygamy situation if you can't put a cap on it. Yeah. See, that way, that'll ensure all of the children are in the home with the father. And you know what? I mean, look, if this is the type of environment that, you know, you find you deem is worthy of living in, then I would think that people who engage in this type of shit shouldn't have no problems living under the same roof with the same nigga that knocked all these women up, and all the women not having a problem living together with this dude.
But the dope boys in the hood do that though. They do that.
Huh?
The dope boys in the hood do that.
I'm saying mandated. I'm saying make it a mandate
Instead
of putting it all on the lames and the taxpayer and the this and the that and every other goddamn thing outside of the people who made the decisions. No. How about we do this? We create a mandate where it's like, okay, look, you create the situation, you exist in it, all of you.
That's not gonna stop the dysfunction though.
Well, here's what it'll do. It'll contain it inside of that home with all of the people who perpetuate it. It won't be just all loud and shit. Yeah.
Let me say something. At the end of the day, males reward these types of bad behavior. You reward it. Exactly. Why? Because we give them attention. We give them, you know, we spend our resources on them. You know, we give them our bodies. You know, and a lot of us even give them our, you know, have a relationship and even dumb enough to marry them. So when every man, or if every man, choose to opt out of dating these types of females, don't give them any attention, don't speak to them, don't sleep with them, leave them the hell alone, that loneliness, you know, that lack of attention, you know, that reality where these females are realizing that they're being treated like a brick wall is going to force them, is going to put them in a position where they are going to be forced to stop their bad behavior. Because when if that happens, they don't receive any reward out of it from males. Because like the point y'all made is that a lot of times, you know, we could blame the state for, you know, for financing these types of females. At the end of the day, males enable that bad behavior, these types of females, the bad behavior of these types of females. So if we stop enabling it, they will, well, in my opinion, change their ways. Well, is every man? So the question is do every man in this society have the willpower to do that? That's the question.
No.
Well,
I mean,
you have the willpower.
And
You have the willpower.
That's why
If
it's going to be a split. It's got to be a split, bro, because the way we think and the way everybody else think, it's enough for them to keep the thing going.
Absolutely, Tyler. That was exactly where I was going to go. I was going to be like, well, look, you know, this isn't going to be an all or nothing thing. What we're loudly presupposing here is a strategy that works for brothers who work, a strategy that works for brothers who are productive. Okay, if you're trying to be productive, that means that everything that you do in terms of your time and energy that's spent either creating, working, doing whatever that time is spent in with the intent of producing a gain for you, right? So at the end of every day, you want to feel as though is that you gained from the amount of work you put in for that day. So what you don't want is to have a position or a situation where you get your gains in what it is that you create or what you do, only to then turn around and have it sucked away from you by somebody who doesn't see the value in the gains that you're making on a daily basis. So it's more.
I would go way further. I would say, look,
go right ahead.
Oh yeah, way further. I mean, I want to take this thing up to 11. Like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Forced marriage. That's it. And if you have another child outside of that, castration. Boom. Problem solved. So that way we don't have this problem. Hey, guess what?
Look how extreme we
got.
That would actually work.
Hey, do you want the problem resolved or don't you want it resolved? I mean, we're gonna have, or they're gonna have a hard 25 years, and that's the way it's gonna be. I mean, wait, man, because here's the thing. I would rather pay kids food stamps and welfare for being straight A students rather than this bullshit right here. And you just tell them, you have 5 more years left for this bullshit to go. Okay? In 5 years, this is what we're gonna do. I guarantee you, you'll have these kids straight A's like a motherfucker if you change the system like that. The problem is that we have allowed the program Smith to just run wild, and this shit is all over the place. And I don't think there's nothing else you could be able to do to it except just end it, because at the end of the day, they're financially incentivized to keep this problem going forever. So I'm not sure how you're going to be able to keep this going, because every household you have misinformed boys who are taught to worship women, and then they come to the internet. I mean, it's never ending. I don't know how you end it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like how the cycle plays out, right? Like there's some sort of we're on a trajectory to get it right. Like it doesn't seem like that's where we're at right now, and I don't think it can happen until literally something drastic like you just said happens.
Yeah, I mean, because we're going down into the path of infinity, and if it comes out on the positive end for this shit to go right. I mean, you know, they just tanking this shit and just tanking it and taking it. You know? I mean, you know, there's not like going to be like a 5-0 49ers coming out of this shit and like soon. You know, that's just not going to happen. You know, we're going to have these people doing whatever they want to, and they're waving their victory in front of everybody's faces. So what you have to do is be like, look, these people do not exist. If they're born between this age and this age, leave them alone. Don't even look at them. Don't even talk to them. Don't even procreate with them. Don't even be friends with them. Leave their ass over there. Build them nice, comfortable housing and put nice, tall walls around them. Drop the dome. Leave them alone.
Drop the dome.
I have to agree with MOT, you know, because
drop the dome, leave them alone.
Drop the fucking dome.
I have to agree with MOT because in every situation where a changes were made. Take, for instance, the history of the United States. The Europeans didn't stay in Europe and fight it out. They put some people on a ship and say, you're going to America, whether you like it or not. They used to pick up people off the street and send them to America. You're going there, and that's where you're going to stay. You're going to go work for this guy for 5 years, and after 5 years, you're going to be a free man. So in this case, we've been talking, we've been providing financial incentive, we've been pleading. At one point or another, you're going to have to say, you know what? This is the choice you got to make now. Either you do this, or we throw you out and you survive in the desert.
No. I said that we build a housing for them to move into.
Shantytown?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's has his hand. Let's has his hand up. I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, MOT, I got a question for you. It's a serious question. Earlier you mentioned incentivizing all the kids to get straight A's and everything. And that actually sounds like a good idea, because with the way things are set up now, we give incentives to the people who basically are in the position that they're in that is opposite of those that do well. So why do you think that no one has even proposed that idea?
No, well, one, it's not going to go through the Republican Party because they don't care about minorities, and it's not going to come to the Democratic Party because the black women run that party. So, but here's the thing. You can't wait on the government to do things that could be done individually by the people themselves. I mean, that's why it's easier to just dry up the pool of men who's going to be in this situation. So that way you could just leave it for non-select women and select men. You know, they can have that nice union and they can just keep creating these kids. So that way you could just know to just leave all of these people the hell alone. Just drop the dome, you know, drop the food at the top. So by the time, you know, the food hits the ground, you're in the SR-71 Blackbird. You're out of there on the other side of the planet. They don't even know that you even dropped the food. You're gone.
MOT.
Do they get internet? Do they at least get internet?
No.
MOT, I have a question. I got an honest question to that though. And in all due respect, I see a bit of a fallacy with that. And I'm gonna ask the question is, so do you really think honestly that that's a good idea? Because what would happen? What happens when competition enters the fray, and you have the people in this context, in this context, who they're competing and they're being incentivized, but then you have the people who aren't so competitive, but everybody's trying to receive help. How do you?
Well, here's the deal. That's not my problem because they can have their war for the planet of the inner apes inside their fucking dome, and what goes on in there is their fault.
There's boundaries, man.
That's right. We don't care. I mean, from here, the cameras stop rolling, and what happens inside this prison is on you.
Fam.
Interesting.
That's the way you have to do it. If you try to help a man, you know, in this case, our community, and we live in the community. We're not outside of it. We are part of it right now. And if you know you have to make a change, and you got 80% of the people who are keeping you from making this change, then you have to make a decision whether or not you're gonna go along with it 80%, or you're gonna say, you know what, some of you gotta go. You know, like mostly you go to prison. And
yo, I'm laughing, but I would have been in that damn dome, bro. Chill, fam.
Yep.
Well, if you're in the dome,
you would have been a climber. Yeah.
Put him in a
you would have been a climber. Yeah.
If
you would have been a climber.
Hey, Ty, I would have dropped you a ladder, bro.
Yeah.
Give me a nice green dumpster with a nice view.
I got you, man. We gonna rendezvous. I'm gonna snatch you and the young G out of there, man. Come on.
I just
Yeah,
want to
I
dump
mean,
you
you
with
know,
a few.
there'll be tryouts to come to regular black society. Every so often. We're not gonna leave
Dude,
everybody in there.
did you just say tryouts?
Is this
That's
a
right.
Hunger Games?
Negro games. That's right.
That actually sounds like a good movie where you quarantine them, incentivize them to do well, and then make them compete to get out of where they're in.
Yep, it works.
Yo, we talk about different things, bro, but just even where we going into the future, bro, as black people, dog, like we got the Ford workers joining the GM people in this strike, man. Like jobs and retirements might be non-existent, and we
It is
talking
non-existent.
about who
and
is
you can see-
selected, who's not selected, and these people is really not prepared for this new wave that's coming through here, man.
Hey, Tay City, look at GE. We talked about this the last week. GE and the pension funds are going away. The GM just took out their medical. You just say, you know what, you're going to strike, no more medical.
Yeah, they already missed their first check already.
Okay, so when they don't have money to buy food because they're in strike, they don't have medical, they don't have pension. Guess what? We are already there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, somebody just did a massive layoff too. I think it was an airline. I think an airline.
Was it United?
Somebody just laid off a whole shitload of people. The number was crazy. I thought I had to reread the whole article again. I think it was one of the airlines laid off a whole bunch of people.
Was it United?
I can't remember. I got to go back and look, man. But I just sit back and I think, like, we sit here talk about select, non-select, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it really, all of this shit don't even matter in the grand scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people who haven't picked the side, they just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, bro.
They're waiting for that dome to drop, man. I help them out though.
Well, see, because I'm laughing because I'm sitting here thinking about what are they going to do with the people who are not going to be productive.
Man, who knows where they're going to be at, man? But at the end of the day, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there'll be bread basket lines. I mean, I'm already seeing it in Boston. Long lines going around the block for the Red Cross. People who typically would not have been there before are now there. We have something called DTA, Department of Transitional Assistance. So that's where you go when you're in dire need for public assistance and cash advance. So they'll give you $50 a day or $100 a day, and then you get a card. But they're talking about reducing the card from $20 a day down to $10 a day because people keep going down to the liquor store and spending all that money. So they're already talking about ways of trying to reduce people. And now they're talking about not supporting single parent households with multiple fathers. You know, you only get one check a month for one, to cover the majority of your kids. So if it's only allocated for, if it was allocated for one child and you went off and had 2 or 3 kids, you're only going to still get that one check that covers one kid. You better figure out where you're going to get the rest of the money from.
One parent households. Ooh, that sounds good.
No, that's what. Yeah, you're starting to see, those females try to shack up with guys now, and it's not, guys aren't biting on it. I think BGS may have hit this on the head that the environment is changing. The environment is changing and it's forcing them to come to the table of negotiation.
What table?
Your belly's hanging over your pants belt, your waistline.
Mike, 1 minute, they're coming to the table. The next minute, they're basically telling you ain't shit gonna change until black men say adios.
Well,
that's the thing is like, right?
Their
Do we
attitude.
really?
Let me clarify that.
Go ahead.
Their attitude is saying one thing, but their belly is saying something different. Right. So
Right, but
they know that the
so
government is already cutting back on Section 8. You see a lot of Section 8 vouchers being revoked. And people moving, way beyond the city just to have their voucher accepted. So what I'm saying here is that there is a conflict in how they see brothers versus what they need. And their belly is telling them you need to get with that dude, but their attitude is still reflective of what it was before.
Well, that goes back to the whole thing of like biology versus like conscious intention, right? See, your belly is that's biology, right? You need food to eat so that your brain or your body has energy to process and so that you could do work. That's biology. But what did you say about the mind though?
It has not reflected their needs. So it's still you still get the attitude, but their belly is saying, it's going it's hungry.
Well, I would say in that regard, learn how to cook.
You don't have.
You can keep the attitude. You can.
Yeah, but the problem is that they've cut food stamps too. Remember,
well, I was kind of being facetious, Mike. I was just a little bit, dude.
Yeah,
but they can hunt squirrel in the hood, right?
Oh yeah. We'll let Chef Boyard Rude.
I told a lot of females that I knew before the fall and the crash of Backpage. I told a lot of females before the fall and crash of Backpage that was out there, talking a lot of yin yang. When they pull Backpage from up under your feet, the whole dynamics is gonna change, and this is kind of similar to that. Backpage fell. Yeah, it was a wake up.
Well, they went to Backpage fell. They went to OnlyFans.com. So now you're starting to see, it's unfortunate that I see certain people up there that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, man. I'm not paying, whatever it is that you're charging. I'm not doing all. I already seen that for free. So, but what I'm saying here is
wait. I heard the going rate was only $75 though.
Oh, that's not a flat rate, but if what they're, whatever it is that they're charging. The point that I'm making here is that, if the government continues with their process of culling people politically, you're going to start to see a lot of shifts in development in how they view brothers from the brain trust. Before yesterday you was an educated lame. Now you look like a you're
but it's circumstantial submission though. It's circumstantial.
Wait, that's not even, dude. That's being highly fucking disingenuous. Let's be real about it.
Well,
that's what that is.
Well, if that's the case, I'll present an idea. If these females want to quote unquote come to the table and quote unquote negotiate with brothers could say, hey, listen, well, I'm looking for some extra help. I'm looking to hire a nanny. Here's a toothbrush. You can scrub my kitchen and bathroom floor. And with that, you have free room and board.
No. Bad. No.
Yeah.
No.
Be a nanny.
I mean, they don't want to raise their own kids, bro.
Man, why would I have them nannying my child when they got a whole bunch of different dudes that they can't already take care of?
I mean, your house will be empty. Your house will be empty when you return home. It will be empty.
Let me address Kendra. Let me address Kendra D's comment in the chat. Shout out to the Crimson Cure. Good evening to you. This doesn't seem good because it won't only affect those who have had a bad attitude and poor choices, but also those of us who didn't. I don't want to need food pantries or food stamps. That's the way this is going, Kendra. She said something additional. No longer being married, I have found consistent work and have never needed to go to the aid office for anything. I certainly don't want to start needing to go there. It's getting to that point, Kendra. Even working class, I work in the big farmer. and they were talking about this in the in the lunchroom, in the break room, that some people, who do have a substantial salary are finding themselves needing to go to a food pantry to get extra goods because their mortgage is underwater. They ain't
Student
paid
loans.
or that, and they haven't paid their car note in 90 days. Keep hiding your car around blocks and stuff like that because you're avoiding repo man. So, they have to determine whether or not they pay their car note and their insurance. I just talked with somebody last night. They haven't paid, their car note in over a year, and they've been ducking, hiding their car under trees.
How?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what
Can
I'm
I
talking
say something? Can I say something?
Go ahead.
But see, people, you got to let that image go. Like, they got to let that go. Like, if okay, I get it. Like, the key word I just caught on what you said, substantial salary, substantial, right? So let's assume we're talking about people who may live in close proximity to where they can transit, where they don't have to drive to ride share, park share, and then you jump on the train or the transit, versus people who have to drive in far away. Like, those people, if they in close proximity to where they can catch transit from a nice house with a substantial salary, and they got the 750 BMW or whatever, they gotta let that image go. Like, if they starving because of that, they deserve what they get. Like, I know that's probably cruel and harsh, but yeah, you gotta let the image go. Like, it's either starve or have something in your pantry. Let that luxury go, while money's still coming in. Like,
some people are using their car for Uber and Lyft, and that's not enough either. I mean, we got an article coming up Friday about several people living outside of, living within their car as they do Uber and Lyft. Man, this is the way the market is going, man. This is how it is. And when I'm seeing working class people in the morning, at the Red Cross with the, getting bags of fucking day old bread and stuff like that, man. This is where we are.
There's a lot of people who sleep at the Walmart and Target and stuff, man. Like, a lot of working class people park there overnight and sleep there. A lot more than you think.
Yeah. And like I said, I talked to this person last night, man, and their relative has been hiding the car for a whole year and hasn't made not one payment on it.
Damn.
And they're putting car covers over it, putting tree branches over it to try to hide it from repo men, and putting.
laugh, but what's the end game?
What do you mean?
Like, you gonna just pay all the payments at the end? Like, you were like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the end game?
Balloon payment for a car, bro?
Yeah. Well, they came in and found the car last night, so you can only hide it for so long, man, because once you go delinquent on something like that, that becomes grand larceny now. The lease company or the finance company wants their car back. They want their vehicle back, and you're driving around with a car that's basically declared stolen at this point.
Maybe the brain trust should help these boys and girls out there avoid such a dastardly future and a dastardly destiny.
Well, keep in mind that a lot of those black boys had their credit jacked up by their mothers because mom
putting bills in their names.
Yeah, Comcast and Verizon accounts, and open up multiple, to get multiple iPhones, and everybody got an iPhone, but nobody got the money to pay for it. All that stuff matters, man. So you got 18-year-old black males with jacked up credit, and they ain't never opened up an account before in their life.
Oh, they opened up an account.
And not them willingly they didn't do so.
Tons of accounts. Yeah.
Food pantries, people going out to farmers markets, man, and getting that day old bananas black as hell, not even a speck of yellow on it.
Hey Mike, man, where I stay at, man, you routinely see it's like every Monday and Friday, they have the county food shelters. You see people who routinely pull up in BMW SUV trucks and going in there in line for like the meat and stuff, man. It's crazy how they don't even means check anybody who comes in there, man. It's crazy.
Let me tell you something. What's going on around my way is that there's this Catholic organization that's, delivering free food to so many different people that live around me. And I speak to some of these people who's collecting this free food, and they telling me that, life is getting so hard for them that they can't even afford groceries. And they're regular working class individuals. I'm like, wow.
They had to shut down one of the motels in Boston because there's no more shelter capacity here. So they're using the motels, and the state has to pay for this.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they ran out of shelter. So in here, Massachusetts and Maine are the only two states within the federation that doesn't allow women and children to go homeless. So if there's a bed available, then you as a man, you're SOL. So that woman will get the bed, that child will get the bed. But they ran out of shelter, and they're using these motels, and they have to pay for these motels, and these motels are costing them millions and millions of dollars a year.
Fortune.
Yeah, it's millions and millions of dollars. And what's happening here is that these people have been staying in these motels for so long that they're finding bed bugs and prostitution going on in there with these chicks, man. They drop their kids off to school, and then they come back, and they got another a sucker lady coming through, and
it's a day job. They gotta work. It's a day job.
This is what it's coming down to. This is what it's coming down to.
Oh, Mike, I'll even go further. Up here where I'm at in New York, there's construction sites where it's already supposed to be a motel or hotel that's being built, and the city ends up taking that property and makes a shelter out of it. So many times because
they got that in the Bronx.
Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, all 5 boroughs. It's like where it's a construction site, and you see the advertisement for the site, and it's supposed to be Madison Hotel or Hilton Hotel. Next thing you know, when you see the finished product, it's a shelter.
Yeah,
it's no longer a hotel. Yeah,
because the state doesn't have enough resources to actually design these things out, so they're just gonna have to leverage whatever infrastructure that's either already built or something that's going to be recently built, and they have to leverage that. And the more and more women keep having these children and not coughing up the dude who's actually the father, they don't have enough space at all. They just don't have enough space. And so what's happening here is they sending these chicks back to live with their mothers who they can't stand in the first place within the gynocracy, right? So you have these contentions in these sort of unstable environments, and now you see women talk about, oh, I've always educated brothers. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Bro,
all right.
That's why I actively chose not to reproduce with them.
Mike, could you imagine being a commercial real estate investor, right? And you sitting there thinking you about to get a Hilton hotel, and then last minute, you find out the building next to you gonna be a fucking shelter, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Oh, you know what? What's even worse than that? What's even worse than that? You have individuals who are not commercial investors. They're private investors. They're just people like myself, maybe even you, Ty City, who purchasing, what you would consider residential dwellings and converting them into income, converting them into income producing properties. So you're renting out properties, or even just not even renting out property, just buying properties. But at any rate, there are certain factors that affect the value of the properties that you own, and it affects the amount of rent that you're able to get. So here in Seattle, you have areas where they decide, okay, well, we're going to take this vacant lot, whatever, and we're going to turn it into a homeless encampment. So now the standards that we set for people who pay money are significantly higher, but because these people are homeless, and it's not a shot at homeless people, but now we're going to allow them to have dwellings that would not meet code otherwise.
Yep.
So you could take a storage shed and convert it into a dwelling. Doesn't have to have plumbing, doesn't have to have electricity wired through it, doesn't have to have a foundation, doesn't have to be connected to city sewer or city water. That's all fine and dandy. But now you have these encampments devaluing the properties that surround them. So go ahead.
Or you can have those garbage cans that we were talking about last week.
Yeah, a dumpster with a view.
God damn.
Yeah, I don't think you can get single mothers in there. You might get some brothers up in there, but
the issue is that, you know, now these individuals are living in proximity to certain amenities, but aren't paying the property taxes that everybody else has to.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a disservice to individuals that are productive. Now, I understand people come on hard times, and there's various reasons why, you know, people are homeless. But at the end of the day, there's a certain level of accountability where okay, so now your situation is this. Well, this is the end result of being in that situation. Mm-hmm. Don't penalize everybody else who's done the right thing.
This is going to come to a stop at some point, because the government will stop funding it, and it's slowly getting to that point where, because they've already pulled Section 8 vouchers and subsidies already, so last year. So now you're starting to feel it this year, and from what I heard, they're going to go further with it into 2020. And that's why you see a lot of women moving back with their mothers, trying to wade the water and wait it out. Some chicks have been on the waiting list for 5 years. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yo, if in Dallas, when they open up that Section 8 thing, it's a riot going into that building, bro. Like, it is crazy. They had to start doing like a raffle.
Because it's based on it's based on priority. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, you get high priority on the list. But how do you rationalize that? So domestic violence could be something as minimal as a man raising his voice to her.
That's a long time to be unproductive, though. Wouldn't we agree? 5 years.
Well, that's if you're not a priority.
Well, no, let's be honest, Mike. 5 years is on the short end. You know, you have 5 years. 5 years is on the short end because you have some of these, like some of the housing projects in California, Jordan Downs projects, Nickerson Gardens. Some of the other, I'm not too familiar with some of the Hispanic. They got some Hispanic, you know, projects in Southern California as well, in LA County. And some of these people have been waiting on the waiting list for 7 years, and then they finally get in. And so it's like in 7 years, you could have changed your situation. But in 7 years, instead of change, actually they have changed their situation, because in the 7 years they were waiting to get into the projects. They went from 2 children to 4 children.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I was gonna say, Triz, the other thing about LA is that, dude, that shit's getting quickly gentrified right now. So I wouldn't even bet on them projects. You know, as long as they've been around, dude, they shit's before I was born, and I'm from here. You know, but I'm not betting on them being around that much longer, dude.
No, they're gonna knock them down because it's prime real estate.
Yeah,
prime real estate.
Exactly.
That's bingo. Prime real estate.
They'll just knock that down, spread you out, send you to San Bernardino or something like that. But you know, when we talk about, they say, "Oh, you're spreading fair porn." Fair porn, my ass. You better go to some of these shelters and go check some of these bed bugs up in there. You know, got code enforcement up in there knocking on the doors, shutting down the motel, and having to fumigate the place because people have been living there.
See, I don't know how is that fear porn for people who live like that already? That shit is fear porn for people like us. I don't want that shit.
Well, I don't even like the term fair porn. I mean,
it's a ridiculous notion, right?
Yeah, but it references some kind of like economic bukkake or something like that.
Right, and it's really not. It's just an economic reality.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's reality.
Hold on. No.
And if you guys don't know what a bukkake is, look it up.
Mike V. You're not finna just slide that past everybody like we didn't hear that. Now, can you please For the panel in chat.
Bukkake.
I know how to spell it. I know how to spell it. I want Mike B
Economic
to really define economic bukkake. Please explain that to us.
It's the most degrading of adult porn. But economic bukkake, for me, the way I'm defining it is that this is like, you know, the extreme side of fair porn, right? You know,
The extreme side of bad economic shit happening.
yeah, the shit has hit the fan and beyond. But these people are accusing us of creating this sort of fair porn. And we give it to them, you know, you like it on the face. So we just give it to you just the way you like
I was going to say, yeah, economic bukkake means that you love your poverty.
Yeah.
Generously spread upon your face and neck.
I mean, what could we rename it to or rebrand it to, like fair gaggers or something like that? Hi-yo. Yeah, man.
But the thing is, when it comes to preparation, you know, to be prepared for anything, first you must be aware that certain things are happening.
Correct.
You know, and so if you're not aware of certain things of happening, you're not going to be properly prepared. Therefore, if something like an economic downturn happens, which what we're seeing, we're going to be at the short end of the stick. You don't want to be in that short end of the stick. So it's necessary to be aware of these things that happen and finding strategies, certain solutions to, you know, to prevent us from being on the short end of the stick. So I don't get it when people, you know, use that fear porn argument. You know, and you know, in a way, I kind of understand where they're coming from. They think that other individuals are just trying to discourage people from being productive in their minds. But in reality, I don't think that's what the Black Brain Trust is trying to do. With all the teachings when it comes to technology, when it comes to AI, when it comes to economics, when it comes to finances, that is taught on the Black Brain Trust, I don't think anyone on the Black Brain Trust is trying to discourage anyone from being productive. What the Black Brain Trust is trying to do is spread awareness of, okay, there's a possibility of this going to happen within a few years. Be prepared, and this is how you be prepared. So I don't get how some people will. Well, I do kind of get it, but you know, the fact of the matter is, nobody's spreading fear.
Fear gagging does sound pretty good, though.
If anything, I feel like all this information is a good way to help people refocus on what they need to focus on.
Yeah, you got people out there who will refuse to listen, and the only point that they can put forward is that Black men that they don't do anything for them, and you hear that on YouTube all the time. So you got this majority of people who listen to that thing and think that nothing can happen to them.
Because they believe in the system, despite all of the pro-blackness and you know, pump your fists in the air. They believe that the system will always be there for them. They can't imagine an American society that will allow them to go hungry, but we see it every day. And it's getting to the point, you know. I know at one point they were giving out transportation vouchers, but I don't think that's any longer. I think once Trump came in, he kind of cleaned all that stuff out. Chicks were getting $2,500 to put down on a vehicle if they had more than 2 kids or something like that. So a lot of that stuff is going to go away. A lot of your benefits are going to go away. I know Dr. Phoenix is in Milwaukee, I think, or maybe Wisconsin itself, and he's seeing, you know, worse. And it gets cold up there in the wintertime, so it must really, really suck for them.
We got to make the fear gagger stick, though. I like that. That does sound a little bit better. Fear gaggers. We got to roll with that.
What's wrong with economic bukkake?
It's more descriptive. It's more you get more of a visual.
That's kind of harsh. But fear gagging, you know, we can say they people gagging out fear. You know, they gagging. You know, the fear gaggers is.
I mean, the Manosphere has had quite a few gaggers, you know, in its time.
Oh yes, they have.
Yeah, they've been exposed over the years. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal for them. Since they seem to like it so much, you don't, they didn't just do one movie, they did about 60 of them. So
Right.
yeah,
All
LS.
all of them about eight hours in length.
Oh man, LS has his hand up, and he'll, this will be the last hand we take.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Now, what do you guys? I know you guys are all like more tech-oriented dudes in here, but what do you guys think about the viability of like more traditional trades, like pipe fitters, electricians, or construction workers, or things like that, in terms of like getting people on a good economic track? What are you guys' thoughts on trades like those?
Those trades aren't going to go anywhere for the next 20 years, because unions will push back against any sort of automation.
Well, do you think you can automate like an electrician's job?
No.
No.
But we can give you the tools to be more productive. That we can do. We can create tools for you all.
No, electrical code won't change for quite some time. And it's been that electrical code has been the same for the last 100 plus years. So that's not going to change.
It hasn't changed much.
Yeah,
but you guys think it will be a good idea to get people into a good financial spot for themselves?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, a lot of these places are very much unionized. So if you're trying to get into some of these big, some of these big organizations, you're not gonna be able to get in as immediate as some of your pale-faced counterparts. But to take it up as a entrepreneurship sort of role, yeah, it might make a good idea now, but come forward, you have to look at the fourth industrialized emerging tech as where things are going to go. You can't just rely on the traditional anymore. You got to come with something else. Your traditional electricians now do network cable installation. Now they're the ones laying down the fiber and all that stuff. So,
well, yeah,
I was
that's
going to say
what
there's a convergence. There's a convergence happening here where, even in the traditional roles, like let's just take automotive mechanic, right? Like cars fundamentally have been functioning the same way for a good period of time, but with things changing the way they are, it's like an automotive mechanic is now going to have, he's going to need a lot more electrical engineering experience or just, a heavy concentration in electronics and the ability to diagnose and code even.
Okay.
Well, see, that's what I was saying, Mike. The other side of the shop that we just built where I work, all the lights are running through some kind of networking system. It's all digital. They don't have like light switches. They got like buttons.
They got what?
They have like a button. They don't have like a traditional switch. All the lighting is ran through like a network system.
Well, because the lights now would be LED if they're green LEED certified, right? So LEDs don't use up that much power. You can run all of your lights over Cat5 cable because it's all low voltage. So Cat5 cable is all 40. Yeah, Cat5 power is all 48 volts and below. You don't need the
those diodes don't suck any power hardly.
Yeah, the little control panel look crazy though. Like you can see everything on that.
I would say.
Look, I mean, it's the same reason why it's the same reason why all of the medical cannabis grow operations are being grown under LEDs.
I would say focus more on the administrative aspects of some of those trades, because if you can administer, then once this fourth wind hits and computerization does take over, you'll be in a better position to to be able to do what you got to do, as opposed to the just traditional layperson that's on the ground.
I just want to say something real quick to that. Hey, real quick, Ty, I just want to say something to what the brother just said here. We try to push on the brain trust, man, that these aren't things that when they'll happen. These are things that are happening. Like we don't, it's gradual. when you look at the internet, see, you've been largely, you just gone along with the ride with regards to the internet's development and what it enables you to do. There really wasn't no one scenario or situation where like it was like a light switch, right? And then all of a sudden we were just in this new paradigm. It's not that we're in the fourth industrial revolution now. So like let it be known that when we talk about this stuff, we're talking about it from a position of one, a good portion of us all work in some capacity or another in some venue that's dealing with fourth industrialization. That's why we speak to it.
Yeah, it's going to be very important going forward. You don't see the problem with Black people is they're always trying to play catch up. Now's the time, not the time to play catch up. Now's the time to get ahead of the curve of the market for what it is. A lot of your pale faces who have traditionally been inside the blue collar industry have not converted, which is why there's so much high unemployment rates in the Midwest. They never made the conversion over. They stayed in the factory, putting on dashboards and bumpers, and they never thought to actually advance themselves. And now they find themselves unemployed and unemployable because CVS already has automated cash registers and point of sale systems, and McDonald's does too, and so does Burger King now. So what they would have been applicable for, maybe 10 years ago is no longer the case now. So we see the examples happening in real time. For Black men, I tell them all the time, man, go to a trade school, go take up renewable energies, HVAC. Those systems are going digital now. You see them coming with 4G and 5G connections now for monitoring. I know Schneider Electric and Black & Decker, Stanley Black & Decker, mass rollout for IoT. Was just at one of the meetings here in Boston for that. They was demonstrating a whole lot of new IoT technologies in terms of HVAC systems and the tools. You try to take a buzz saw or a wireless or cordless drill off a corporate site or a construction site. That drill's not going to work anymore because it's GPS locked. It's been geofenced.
Damn, they're doing it like that, huh?
Hey, I remember Complex and Mike, y'all was talking about part of the trade war was that they didn't want China bringing in that stuff, that their 5G technologies and things like that they've been working on.
Right.
And
Yep.
Trump just said that the first round of the trade negotiation was that they okay, I'll fix it. Okay. They said that the first round of the trade deal was part of it was a digital or electronic.
Dude, that's what set the whole shit off, Ty. They hit them with the 5G tech stuff, and they basically told them, you ain't bringing electric cars here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tariffs on those are something like 100%. So you'll probably never see a Chinese electric vehicle here.
And the cool part about it is, Mike, is that you had companies that were lined up there. So you got containers full of cars that were scheduled to actually come here last year.
Mike, you might see Chinese electric cars here because at the cost that the Chinese can make that electric car, and they're bringing the cost down even more. Right now, they're almost at the forefront of change of battery technology. They created, and I saw articles there. Well, one Chinese company is making nitrogen run cars, and they're saying that their cost to make that nitrogen is like almost 10% of what people are saying it costs in the U.S. So if they make the car cheaper, and then even if you put 100% tariffs on it, and it costs $40,000 here, the average American is going to buy it. That's how.
No, they won't allow that. They won't allow that because they will never allow China to have that much dominance over them. That's just not. That goes against their whole entire trade policies. Even though
Mike,
it sounds good in theory, but in application, if they did that, that would send a lot of white Americans out of lot of white American males out of work, and then you have 90% of your legally owned firearms by white males in this country. They'll show up to Washington, D.C. almost immediately.
Hey, I remember seeing the whole ship full of those electric cars catching on fire and blowing up and whatnot.
Yeah, they were poorly put together. They don't pass American crash safety standards. Most of them don't even get 3 stars.
Well, Mike, see, here's the thing. This is what I wanted to address what DE was saying, because there's a slew of cars that actually have been designed and built to meet U.S. crash test regulations. That's the first thing. Second thing is that the entry-level cars, so I'm trying to think of like what is a new entry-level car that I can make a contrast or a comparison to. But one of those little four-door, little tiny, like kind of Ford Fiesta looking type cars, but maybe even smaller. Some that are made by like the Japanese. Or
Daewoo.
Right. So those cars would be, dude, if they were sold here, those cars, the price point would come in at $5,000. Okay, cars that are of the same size and build of, say, like the Model 3, for example, you're talking about 12 or 13.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen anytime soon. They might get manufactured in Mexico, but not in China, then shipped here. That won't be tolerated.
Doesn't mean it can't go to any other country.
Yeah, they're already in Latin America. I think Chinese cars are the #1 selling vehicles in Latin America for 2019.
Right.
That in Asia, man, you can buy a 50cc car.
A 50cc car?
A car, a truck.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hey, DE, say that again.
You can buy
on that one.
Look, there's some vehicles I see in the Philippines that they use them. I don't know if you heard about jeepneys.
Yeah, jeepneys. Yeah.
But they get rid of jeepneys and they have these 3-cylinder cars. I'm not kidding. That they use. It will carry 20 people in it.
Ooh, 3-cylinder.
Yes.
20 people.
Yes.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
You gotta understand, an Asian is not like a Midwest American, you know.
Yeah, but that would never.
American is 3 Asians.
That would never pass. That wouldn't pass American crash safety standards. That would never be on the road.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how it even moves with 20 people.
But look at Tata Motors. Tata Motors is selling some vehicles in Africa. A 3-wheeler that a motorcycle engine in it. And it's used for taxis and all that. And they started out in India selling these things. You go to Delhi,
Tata Nano.
Like a tuk-tuk. I think that's what they call them. A tuk-tuk?
Yeah, tuk-tuk is a good example of it.
Tuk-tuk, Tata sounds like that white boy, that white boy in South Carolina, trying to mac for these chicks, man.
Yo, you guys have a good night, man. I'm about to leave, so all right. Good night.
Talking.
All right, later, man.
Hey, have a good one, man. Let me shut this down as well, man. Yo, thank you all for joining us, man. Hit that like button if you've not already done so. And share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. We posted some stuff on there today. Should be some more stuff coming tomorrow. Shalom.
See ya.
Shalom, everybody.